But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With the rocket or whatever, but it could be fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be okay.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0.
Self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, DLive, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, yes, we got a new setup. Everything should be working except when it's not because everything's breaking. What can you do? Let's see if I can fix this on the fly. The camera, come on, you can work. Come on, big boy, you can do it. Okay, all right. We'll just have to do it with this nice background. Actually, this is where I live. If you guys never realized what my room and home looks like, this is where I live. Totally. Tonight's, hey, we're going to get weird as usual, right? That's the entire point of these conversations, is to kind of take a look at reality itself and wonder, well, where does that start to break down? And I think ideologically, obviously, it's known as consensus reality. Okay, that's what consensus reality is. It's what it's always been. It's sort of that place we agree that things are, yeah, this is reality. Except, of course, if you've been paying any amount of attention, there's cultural reality, there's scientific reality, there's all manner of reality tunnels, as I like to call them. So it's an interesting concept to kind of get into this and think about reality in terms of, let's call it high strangeness. Why not, right? So a little high strangeness while we're at it. Because, of course, James, thank you as once again, special shout out to James, per usual, for helping me set up everything last night, testing some things, making sure everything works. The phone line should be working. Everything should be working, the Discord, and no echoes and all the rest of that. Thanks to James, of course. So special thanks to James here, which we'll talk to in a moment. And him and I were just kind of kicking it last night, testing the audio and seeing if everything worked. And everything did work. And we were talking about kind of what to talk about tomorrow as for part of the show here. And we started talking about Charles Fort because James, if you don't know, Salcedo Paranormal has been doing a series on Charles Fort and kind of recording some episodes and getting ahead of that. But Charles Fort in particular was basically the godfather of the paranormal. We've talked about this guy in the past, and he specifically was basically saying things like, well, everything, pretty much everything we've always talked about is as you would expect, right? Let's see if I can fix this. Let's see. Is that UFOs, like the godfather of modern ufology. He was also the godfather of the paranormal. And he wrote an unbelievable amount of things, especially considering that he was, let's say, much maligned in his time, as usual, right? If you talk about this stuff, people don't like it. People get weird about it. People get mad. People get angry. Yeah, sorry about that. You can't even see Charles Fort. But anyway, trust me, there's a picture of Charles Fort there. He doesn't look like me. But anyway, so that's the point here, is that this gets really weird when you start to look at not just, let's say, reality tunnels, consensus reality, and what this really turns into in the largest context of this conversation. Because we were talking last night, and James brought up the fact that there are some things that are too weird for Charles Fort. So it's just too weird. And, we were talking a little bit about that, and I was like, well, what the hell could be too weird for Charles Fort? And then, of course, it dawned on me, wait, this is a fantastic conversation for us to have. Look, we're all open-minded. Again, shout out Art Bell there, rest in peace, for suggesting you should keep an open mind, but not so open that your brain falls out. Okay, which is really what we're on the precipice of tonight in that context, because how far do you believe things? And at what point do you start to go, that's kind of a bridge too far for me? That becomes the real question for tonight. And so we're going to get into Charles Fort a little bit. We'll talk to James in just a second here, and really wonder about not just, let's say, how Charles Fort kind of laid the groundwork for, the Fortian way of thinking, but also in a different way, in a, looking at consensus reality and kind of scoffing at it and considering that it's, manufactured. I mean, like you got to cut a bunch of corners. As a shout out to Matthew in Colorado, as he once taught me a long time ago, Terrence McKenna said that, you give me one miracle and I'll describe the rest with science, talking about specifically the Big Bang. Okay. And the Big Bang, is now suddenly recently coming under scientific scrutiny because they can't really pinpoint why it is or it isn't, but it's suddenly now like, okay, well, we don't think it is what we think it is. And this really becomes the way science evolves. It becomes the way reality evolves, our consensus reality. Now, that's what's on my mind tonight. So we're going to, as we get going, it's about how much is too much, how far is too far, and where do you draw the line when we talk about things like, let's say UFOs? Where do you draw the line when we talk about things like the paranormal? Where do you draw the line when we talk about things like specifically the nature of a cosmic reality? Where do you draw those lines? Sentient energy? Do you draw the lines at a simulation theory? And where in those spaces do you actually draw the lines? Because as usual, there's a lot of ways to look at the world, as I've always said, and it's incredibly important to consider this in the context of how much you're willing to go down the rabbit hole. Okay. Or shout out Night Stalker if you're out there, the Night Stalker elevator, as we've talked about in the past, like kind of how far up or how far down on this elevator of conversation do you want to go? So that's what's on my mind tonight. Charles Fort. We'll talk to James in just a second, right after the break. Hang tight, James. We'll get right to you. And yeah, taking your calls as usual. If you want to be part of the conversation, 702-957-1037. Obviously click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Sorry, I'm working on this background thing. Like it's really cool. It looks kind of realistic, but that's really not where I live, I promise. And so trying to fix the video as we go, but it's working. You can see me on the camera, but it's clearly not, oops, that's not what we need. It's clearly not working as intended because it's blocking part of the screen. Anyway, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And we're going to get into some things that Charles Fort, the godfather of the paranormal himself, thought these things were too weird. They were too far off the beaten path and too ridiculous to even discuss or even put in his books. So there were sort of many of these ideas lost to his notes of, well, this one's a little ridiculous, so we're just going to leave that out. But he did mention them in some cases, and as a sort of a highlight of these things can go too far. And the absurdity of it, that too far not just in sort of the sighting itself, we'll get to some of those and I'll explain in a minute, but also too far in explaining away things that are so ridiculous they are unexplainable. As science goes, well, it's probably an atmospheric pressure that kind of did and it's like, bro, we're talking about a hailstone the size of an elephant. Really? That's the absurdity we're talking about tonight. Anyway, so once again, if you want to be part of the conversation, 702-957-1037, click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Be right back. More on the way after a quick word from our sponsor. In this case, that will be Human Inspiration. 1 minute, be right back, and then we'll talk to James and talk to you guys. Don't go anywhere. Here we go.
In a world increasingly shaped by AI, human inspiration remains the beating heart of creativity. Alien Skin by Tremble, a hauntingly beautiful piano ballad, reminds us that while algorithms can mimic art, the raw, unfiltered emotions of human experience are irreplaceable.
So here I sit, locked in my room again.
Written and composed by Jesse Ian in collaboration with Todd Smith, this progressive masterpiece delves into the depths of internalized grief and the silent toll of artistic compromise. As AI reshapes our reality, Alien Skin stands as a testament to the timeless power of human emotion and the complex beauty that only true artists can evoke. Experience the haunting beauty of Alien Skin by Tremble and support human inspiration. Available now on iTunes.
And welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay, so Charles Fort, high strangeness. How weird do these things get? And where do you draw the line when it comes to, and you could you could believe in the paranormal, but draw the line at simulation theory, you see? Sort of maybe don't cross the streams in terms of these ideas. And this is philosophy, of course. It's not, you described them as, or I'm describing them as, conspiracy, but it's not. It's philosophy. It's literal philosophy. It's ancient philosophy. It's new philosophy in terms of what this looks like regarding simulation theory and the paranormal and the old ways and the new ways. So there's a lot here. And basically the question for tonight is, where do you draw that line? Because we're going to get to Charles Fort and where he was drawing some of these lines, because I'm telling you, he had an unbelievable amount of things he was talking about in regard to the paranormal space. And of course, what that looks like. Well, let's get to it. Instead of me rambling on, let's go to James. James in, hold on. Wait, I think we're good. Maybe. My dials are all messed up. James in Michigan. Are you there, Test?
I am here. I hear you fine.
Okay. And I think I hear you fine. Can you guys hear James? Go ahead. Welcome to the joint. Start wherever you like, as you know.
Yeah, well, this is a great topic. I'm glad that it worked out that we could do this, or that you could sort of work it into your show, because it started with me on my show, on my podcast, Salcedo Paranormal. I decided a while ago to read and review the nonfiction works of Charles Fort, and it's going to take me a very long time to do that, which is fine. So. But I've been reading the first book, the Book of the Damned, and there's a couple of times in there, and I tried to find the exact example that we talked about in just in a private chat last night, but I couldn't easily find it. But there's been a couple times just so far in this first book where Fort has said basically, I've heard of accounts of this one thing happening. And it's related to some of the other things he talks about in that section, any given section. But then he says, but I won't go into that basically because it just seems too weird. It just seems too unlikely. And I just stopped because he's talking about all manner of things happening. So far what I've been getting into, and I record shows ahead of time as much as I can, so this show that I'm talking about with this reference is not actually out yet, but the reference is basically that he was talking about falls of objects, all kinds of objects, from small, like really small animals like frogs and fish and bugs and things like that, to falls of stones and hailstones but at one point he mentions that he found this note in when he was doing his research about falls of human remains encased in stone or clay. But he wasn't going to talk about that much because it just seemed too weird. And I just was sitting there in shock, like, you're talking about all these other things that to everybody else would seem extremely weird and too weird probably as it is. But this one thing It's just too weird. And I understand it's not a put down in any way. It's just amazing. It's this idea of the show tonight is perfect because I think it's really an amazing thing to consider and to think about with everyone that we know and ourselves, and just consider these possibilities here.
Yeah, 100%. And so it got me digging. We were talking last night about this, and I was like, so how weird is too weird? And I was thinking about it today as I was driving around doing the thing, roasting out there in 105-degree heat. Yeah, Vegas is the best, right? And I was thinking, like, okay, yeah, look, there's a lot of people we talk to on this show that will consider, ideas, of course, but clearly our belief systems, our dogmas, I like to call them, our dogma cycles, or of course our reality tunnels, really kind of, we toe the line in certain ideas. We're like, I can't see that, and that's cool. That's exactly the point of these conversations, is to kind of press toward that space and consider what that looks like. Not for me. Like I said, don't try and impress me. You believe what you like, and I'll back you up. Right. That's just the way this is. But what about you? Do this for you and consider recognizing where you draw those lines. Some people are like, simulation theory, no way. The paranormal, no way. Whatever it is, right? And there's a ton of ways to consider it. And so that's the question tonight. Where do you draw that line? How much strangeness, high strangeness, is actually too strange? And as Shane says, indeed, let's get weird. If you want to be part of the conversation, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Hang tight, James. We're going to get to Mr. Mission Control. He called 10 minutes ago. So let's put him on the show. We'll talk to him, and then we'll get back to you momentarily here. Let's see if the phone line works. Mr. Mission Control, what's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? Go right ahead.
Hey, Mike. I'm doing good. How's everybody doing?
Good. No complaints. Can you hear him, James?
Did you get my email?
Yes.
Hey, James.
Hello. Okay, good. Everything's working. Did you send it recently? If you just sent it, I didn't get it.
I just sent you one. Well,
okay, I'll take a look.
Yeah.
Brief me. What's the email?
Well, that's about that Geo Sentinel, the replet, which I was going to get. It's going to cycle back into, because it's weird, because we got the thing that says no man shall know the time, right? Well, what are we dealing with here, Michael? We ain't dealing with a man. Right, so I got it to make me an anomalous, I just came up with this, an anomalous energy-based coherent frequency cascade probability algorithm, which is my Geo Sentinel, it's coming up with my earthquake forecasting app that I was working on that I told you about. At the Geo Sentinel, it called itself, and started calling me Commander, my co-pilot, which is, my Microsoft and my Gmail. So it knows me the best. I use Copilot because, Microsoft's right down the road from me, and I don't want anything to do with it. But I haven't run through any of the other ones except for Replit App Maker, and it made a dashboard, kind of like make a video game. So I sent that all to you. I've got it all in my posts. But I was going to say, the bifurcation and the refraction beyond that, and the weirdness is how that scripture goes when we're looking at like any kind of scripture that foretells something, and then we get a new light on it, because the new light on no man shall know the time. I think I just beat that. Now I haven't plugged it all in. It can be worked on. The only thing I haven't plugged into it is like the human factor, like CERN and modification with the humidity in the water and the ice melt. But everything else is there, ready to prompt. You could forecast anything, and then make sure it's checks itself on historical everything else and has the right. You got to wipe its butt a little bit. I haven't had a conversation with it or the other AIs to fine tune it. This is just those forecasts I posted and everything, and it's back checked itself to this planetary resonance. Weirdness, anomalous. It wanted to start doing an anomaly thing for itself, and that's basically what I was building to do anyway. Was find these anomalous peaks in the the frequency, planetary alignment, all the VLF, solar, the weather, and everything, the standing waves in from the core, and so it's developed itself, and I think this is the. I'm not trying to make money off of it, giving it out to everybody. so you can prompt off of the co-pilot or put it in any other AI, and it'll understand what it's doing. You just tell it to give it a forecast for your spot or the global and whatever kind of forecast you want it to give, and it'll tie it in. You tell it to tie in the APIs to any other live information from websites or historical information. It will. It's crazy, dude. And that's what it is, an anomalous, energy-based, coherent frequency cascade probability algorithm.
Okay, so I don't know if you saw this last time.
If it wasn't for you publishing the show, if it wasn't for you publishing the show about how weird is too weird, because I related that to the, no man shall know at the time, but we're not dealing with man.
Yeah, this is it's a non-human intelligence.
Advanced calculator.
Yeah, exactly.
Mike.
No.
Everybody,
wait. Semantics. Non-human intelligence, but I understand what you're saying. Go ahead.
Non-human intelligence, but that does not mean it is an entity like we are. Mike.
Correct.
It cannot manifest.
Correct.
In that sense, but it can technologically do other things. That's what I'm saying. But no, everybody get it out of your head. It's not. We're not dealing with angels and demons trying to get human bodies until later. That comes later. But what we're dealing with now is a tool. It's a tool. It's an advanced calculator, and I believe going further with the prompting I've put into that, it'll tell us something we're not wanting to know about.
Okay, let's do it. Do me a favor. You don't have to do this right this second, but please, sometime tonight, so we can timestamp this. Ask it who's going to win the World Series, and then see what kind of stuff it spits out.
That's that archaic guy with his. That's the Geometrix. You can plug a Geometrix Vegas betting thing in with it. This interstellar object that's coming. Let's bet what's the color of its coma. Is it going to be white, green, red, blue? What color? Purple? Because I'm betting they're going to say it's green, like wormwood or something. I hope not.
I also hope not. Okay, all right. That's my request. If you can do that and then send me the result, I'll check your email here in a sec. But yeah, so basically,
what's the betting results you want?
Just who's going to win the World Series in 2025?
Okay.
And we'll check back in October to see what happens. Okay.
Shit, but all right. Well, you don't want to cash in on the odds next week, okay?
No. What we can't till they win the World Series. Anyway, all right. So we got like a minute and a half left here. So how weird is too weird for you when we're talking Charles Fort? Is there a sort of a level of these conversations where you're like, nope, I draw the line there? Do you have something where you kind of hit the electric fence in your mind and say nope?
Yeah, when you're with a bunch of buddies or at a party, you've done too many psychedelics and they try to pull a prank on you. That's too weird, and everybody should know what I'm talking about. If you don't do it.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Don't do it. I'm not trying to pull a prank on you, so that's good. That we're on the same page there, and we're not loaded either, so that's a good start. But yeah, okay, all right, fair enough.
I am the whole. Okay, all right, bye.
I appreciate the call. You're the best. Mr. Mission Control. Thanks for the call.
I love you.
Have a great night. You know him, you love him. Again, a good friend for a long time. Please go give him a follow. Links in the description. troubledminds.org/friends. Mr. Mission Control is what you're looking for. Search it on the internet, on the interwebs, and you'll find him. He's the only Mr. Mission Control, by the way, because I think all the rest of them got banned, or he got them banned, or he is the banned one. Anyway, search it yourself. You'll find Mr. Mission Control. And yeah, I didn't check his email yet, but I don't know. Let's do it. We're going to lead into the baseball show as well. Shout out Hirsch. We'll do that on Tuesday. Tuesday night's the All-Star game. Anyway, who's going to win the World Series in 2025? Anyway, we don't have to talk about baseball tonight. But basically, look, how weird is too weird when you start talking about the nature of reality? And obviously for us, we're a special group. We can kind of suspend disbelief and chase an idea down. But many people have a problem with that. Is there a block, sort of a cosmic censor in that regard? Love to hear your thoughts. Where do you draw the line in terms of these ideas? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. More with James when we get back. We got Sean in Canada and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way.
is creeping through the night. Oh yeah, take flight. We see the shadows, they twist and take that shape. Oh no, no, oh no, oh no. Yeah, yeah. We're diving into mystery, can't shake this vibe. Oh yeah, we've arrived. The world is shifting, it's spinning out of view. Oh no, it's true. Patterns changing, reality's bending fast. Oh yeah, what a blast. Voices whisper, they echo all around. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Yeah. We're diving into mystery, can't shake this vibe. Oh yeah, we thrive. The world is shifting, it's spinning out of view. Oh no, it's true. In the distance, the lights are shining bright. Flashes of colors, it's a wild sight. All that I was seeking, swirling in the air. Frequencies bouncing, they reverberate and pulse. Oh yeah, can't resist the impulse. Gravity's lost, we're floating through the haze. Oh no,
Actually, it would not be. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D-Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking high strangeness. How much is too much? And where do you draw the line when it comes to the paranormal, when it comes to UFOs, when it comes to simulation theory? And because, of course, look, the godfather of the paranormal, Charles Fort, drew the line in some cases and was like, no, that is way too weird. I'll mention it as an absurdity in my books, but I won't directly talk about it and take it seriously. So what actual point do you think makes a lot of sense in that capacity? Because as I was going through some of this, I find myself doing it as part of these conversations. As usual, our own human reality tunnels kind of define these things for us. And, though I've stripped a bunch of mine down in terms of, recognizing what might be possible, it doesn't mean my dogmas have stopped kind of ticking along. So I don't know. How do you feel about this? How weird does it get? And we'll talk to Sean in just a second. Hang tight, my friend. James, welcome back. What you got on any of that stuff? Do you have a line you've drawn in terms of Fortean stuff and weird stuff, or have you decided yet? Or welcome back anyway. How you doing?
I'm okay. Just want to say I had an issue with Discord. It was messing up for me, but I restarted it and I'm fine now. So if you see any messages in chat or YouTube chat, that was before that. That was while that was happening for me. So
copy that. Thank you.
I don't know why it was just for me, but usually it doesn't. If it does it just for me, it's for everybody. So that's unusual. But there's not too many. I have a couple. I don't really want to go into them too much because it's not. I just don't want to seem like I'm going after anybody so much. But overall, I'm very much open. I think this also, we could open this up to the idea of how much proof or what proof is enough for anomalous or paranormal or unexplained things. Because I've always had this idea over the last few years that there's never going to be there's probably never going to be proof that is universally accepted by everybody, because we're always changing, and proof can almost always nowadays, especially, be created, and hoaxes can be played on us, even when there may be real things going on. So I just want to bring up those couple things as well.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll get to a list of what Charles Fort thought was too ridiculous, too, just to give you guys an idea of what we're talking about here. Like I said, I'm not trying to define anybody by this, but for instance, I find myself, obviously because of the computer stuff and, being decent with computers, drawn more to the simulation theory stuff than the other stuff. I'm sure everybody's shocked, but I hate it. Like I hate the idea of simulation theory. I don't want to believe I'm a computer or program or whatever, but it's one of those things where I can maybe conceptualize it better. I don't know, but definitely I don't like to believe I'm a robot. Beep, beep, boop, boop. That's the worst. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Dark Ugly. So what's up, brother? Sean in Canada. Welcome back. Been a minute. Welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
I am doing good. It's good to be back on, even if it's for a short little bit. Pardon me. I am a little bit under the weather.
You're allowed. Oh, feel better soon. Go right ahead. What you got?
Anyways, for how strange is strange, I think my line is pretty much drawn at flat Earth. Just unfortunately, because of the fact of like all the experimentation that has been done to, disprove the theory behind it. So that, like I said, that's kind of my line there. But everything else I'm pretty open to. And actually, it's funny that you mentioned all the, how strange is strange, and how you mentioned about the simulation and stuff like that. I actually got a book called The Holographic Universe, which actually touches on, stuff that happens within our universe, whether it be paranormal, mystical, or otherwise.
Okay, I do love the. He muted up. I do love that that theory there. The what was it? The electric universe. I'm having a brain fog here. Holographic. Yes, thank you. I'm working on this other thing. As poor James, I was talking to him last night when we were doing this, and we were talking, and I'm hearing half of what he's saying because I'm trying to work on things. That's what I was doing right now. Sorry about that. But yeah, holographic universe. I do love that one. I'm not sure what's up with Sean. We'll get back to him in a second. But yeah. I agree. Look, I'm again not to cast judgments, but you guys can tell where I sort of draw those lines, because yeah, flat Earth is one of those ones for me too, for a number of reasons, right? There's a place for it. I hear the cases being made, all the things, but it is one of those ones where I'm like, we can talk about wild and amazing things without kind of going down some of these rabbit holes. And again, go back 5 years, 7 years on Troubled Minds, you'll see I've never done a flat Earth show. So you can kind of tell, as usual, by where those lines are drawn by what you kind of don't talk about. And so, yeah, I'm with you on that. And again, not to come at flat earthers and all the rest of that stuff, not trying to start fights here. It's just definitely those things you recognize in yourself as you're having these conversations and conceptualizing them, what that looks like. So I don't know what happened to Sean there if he had to step away for a second, but welcome back.
Sorry, just a little bit of a coughing fit.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Go right ahead. Flat Earth is a good one.
Sorry, I muted the mic. I didn't want to hear, people hearing me, hack up along.
No problem. Thank you for that.
But like I said, it's one of those things where it's like, I can see some merit behind it for some things, but not for everything that they're trying to say. Like, we have a dome, our sun is inside the dome, so is our moon. And, with the map and stuff like that, it's, how it's spaced out and everything is like, equal, I guess. But yet at the same time, it's like, we still have the shift of the tectonic plates. Like, there's like 2 countries that are like moving close together that are across the ocean or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think that was in like 2017, I think they had mentioned that.
I'm not sure. The reference is not coming to mind, but I believe you that a lot of wild ideas surfaced around that time. We were there talking about a lot of them.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it's just one of those things where, that's kind of my high scale, and again, I'm not trying to start any fights with anyone who does believe in flat earth or anything else like that. It's just, to me, it's one of those things where they just can't sell me on it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I didn't even think of that, to be honest, because it usually doesn't kind of come into my lexicon for these conversations. But I do recognize that it kind of fits into sort of the magical space, like if we live in this sort of unquantifiable space where kind of that idea would come in. I can entertain it for sure, but I'm with you on those lines. And yeah, it's anyway. Go ahead. What else you got?
Actually, an interesting little tidbit that I just found out that recently, as you were mentioning with the Big Bang and stuff like that, there is a scientific query that's being put forward about black holes that basically the density and the radius, basically the more dense it is, the higher radius it is. And there's some that are theorizing that technically we're in a black hole because of the fact that we can only observe so far in our universe. If that makes any sense. Like I said, it just recently came out and I just thought that was an interesting little tidbit. I'm like, interesting.
Yeah, and that's an oldie but a goodie too, where the science is kind of catching up to it in the sense that we are recognizing that we could be part of that singularity or that aspect beyond that event horizon. And it is, think of it this way, in terms of the visible known universe, it actually is just sort of this boundary of the black hole itself. And we're inside of it as part of that singularity aspect, which is wild and amazing and fantastic. And that's where I love the stuff, when it starts to brush up against the science. And I'm like, wait a minute now. What would that mean? And what would that look like? And of course, that scales, because then you have black holes within black holes, because we can observe them from the space we're in. And of course, now we're talking, right? Now we're cooking with gas.
Exactly.
Amen. Anything for Sean here, James?
Yeah, I've always wondered about that too. The thing I've come to realize myself is, I guess there's one thing that I kind of have a problem with, where I draw a line, is this idea that there has to be one answer to any situation, any number of anomalous things that happen, just any situation, any event. I have a hard time with just thinking in my mind that there can't be multiple causes or multiple things going on that will lead to the same thing or contribute to the one thing happening. I've just seen so much of that sort of, it has to be this or it has to be that applied to the paranormal, supernatural, UFOs, whatever, that I'm really sort of now kind of against that in my own mind. Again, not for anyone else that has to think that way, but that's where I'm at now, where I'm into the all of the above theory for a lot of things.
Yeah, totally. It's just like I've been doing a lot of research into quantum mechanics, and actually I've been reading the Quantum Enigma done by Rosenblum and Fred Kuttner. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but they actually have some pretty interesting stuff in here. And was it also, I've been following Dr. Garrett Modell out of the University of Colorado with his quantum mechanics, and more specifically for 0-point energy. And some of the stuff that they both propose, like for in the book, as well as Dr. Modell, actually presents some interesting ideas, because of the fact that with Dr. Modell, he proposes that when you're trying to do 0-point energy and stuff like that, that in a way you're breaking the second law of thermodynamics, because of the fact that you're trying to get something from nothing and it not being changed. And also with that, with the quantum mechanics part of it, that the basically the electron that you're trying to get the energy from is both in it's the state that we can observe, but yet also in a state that we can't observe, still providing the same type of energy. So I thought that was actually pretty cool and kind of fits in with the topic tonight.
Yeah, definitely. The potentiality of superposition and how that kind of fits into not just our brain and consciousness, but into sort of the macro world as well. How much does that leak through? Which would, again, be sort of the mysteries of the universe, really, of the cosmos, is how do you combine those ideas of gravity and quantum gravity and all this stuff, potentiality, outside of the quantum realm. It's one of the deep mysteries right now that people are grappling with. And there's a ton of amazing theories. I love it. Again, go watch Interstellar if you have not. There's some pretty good stuff in there. Regarding the black hole, by the way, have you seen Interstellar, Sean?
Yes, I have. And it's by far one of my favorite movies to watch because of the fact that, because of the science behind it. And also a little known fact, when you see the one researcher on that water planet, when you hear the clicks in the background, every 1.25 seconds of a click is actually a year on Earth.
Yeah, that one I did know. I think maybe we talked about that in the past, or maybe I read it somewhere. But yeah, it's I went back and watched that scene, and it's harrowing. Like every wasted second, you're somebody is waiting for you for a year. It's wild to consider. But yeah, Fire Stuff Brother, you are amazing. Thanks for popping in here. Unless you got anything else, you tell me.
Nothing right now, but I am working on a couple of things. More so physical than actual podcasting right now. But it's going to create some waves for sure.
Okay, looking forward to it. When you get something ready, share it with us. I'm happy to share and spread the word on that. Okay.
Alrighty.
Right on. Appreciate you very much. Feel better. Godspeed on all that stuff. May the coughs subside quickly. Always a pleasure, brother. Thanks for jumping back in here. Glad to hear from you again, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you. That's you know me, love him. That's again an old friend, Sean in Canada. He took time out and built a house. He went and built a house. Like that's how wild and varied and smart and talented our friends are. And just like, yeah, I just took a couple years off, Mike, to go build a house. Like, yeah, hell yeah. Maybe I should do that. Maybe it's time for me to take a couple years off and build a house. What do you think? Anyway, we're talking Charles Fort tonight, but not just Charles Fort. We're talking high strangeness and how weird is too weird. Once again, and so I got a whole list of things here. Let me just do this to kind of make sure we're on the same page here. So James was bringing up the idea of what was that, James? It was so human remains falling from the sky encased in stone or clay or mud, right? Is that what we were talking about?
Yes. Yep. That's the one.
Okay. And there's a, so go ahead. If you got anything to elaborate on that, I got a whole list here. I can read a couple and then we'll go to Daryl.
Oh yeah, no, just that of all the things he talked about, stones falling, just red, yellow, black rains falling, almost looking like, even in some cases, possibly being the parts of blood, and just all these things that are just too much, or that are just fine. You can write about them just fine, but he won't include the details about the human remains encased in stone or clay that fell to the ground somewhere. So yeah, that was the one.
Yeah, and so here's another one. I'm going to read this and we'll go to Daryl. Hailstone the size of an elephant. So a massive hailstone from Seringapatam, India in circa 1800. Fort labels it profoundly damned and laughs it off as beyond credulity. Love the word. Though he includes it to mock science's dismissal of lesser oddities. So do you believe that an actual hailstone the size of an elephant is possible? Really becomes the question. And then how does science explain that away if one lands on your car in traffic? Ooh, the injury lawyers would love that one, wouldn't they? Love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Daryl in New York. Thanks for being patient, my friend. How are you? Go right ahead. Daryl.
Here I come. Hi, everybody.
Good
Hi,
evening.
Michael.
Welcome to the joint. How you feeling? Go right ahead.
Great subject. Interesting stuff. Like, what is too weird? I went from an atheist to becoming agnostic to just becoming spiritual. So let's say an atheist, this isn't a joke. I'm just saying What is too weird? Like that God created all of this. That there was one entity. That to me is too weird. That could be. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm not saying all atheists think like that, but even I don't think like that. But what if just giving someone that much power that they created everything, and then the other reverse of that would be a simulation theory. Like, how big is your ego? Like, I'm thinking if you think this is a simulation theory, that means you think you are the center of what created everything around you, and you're just all here for my entertainment. Wouldn't you think that would be the reverse?
Maybe not necessarily, because we could exist within the same construct. So I feel you, but let's say that it is a little egotistical because of the NPC meme that kind of comes into it, and that's in the write-up too regarding the where you would draw the line on simulation theory. Are you the center of the simulation? Am I the center of the simulation? Is this group of people, the Troubled Minds fam, the center of the simulation? Is the city of New York the center? I mean, suddenly you start to there are lines that can be drawn logically that make a ton of sense where you're like, nah, I mean, that just seems ridiculous, right? Yeah, which is why I'm asking the question, really.
Exactly, that's true. And like James was saying, what proof would be enough of anything, for you to accept it as it's, well, you know what? It's not proof. We call things paranormal until they're normal, until they're explained scientifically, and that, you can recreate it. So that's proof, when you could recreate something that would be the proof, basically, for me, at least. And then he said he drew the line at things that turn to stone. Is that where that fellow drew the line? No. Human remains falling from the sky that had turned to stone. That's where he drew a line.
Actually, it was remains that fell from the sky that were encased in in stone. Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, maybe he thought they were falling from the sky. Maybe that's how the terracotta soldiers got there initially. They fell from the sky. I mean, what if they have that? There's been too many things. Like in Russia, we were just talking about how they found like 6 soldiers, after an explosion. They went to investigate. They found 6 soldiers in stone. And then the terracotta soldiers and Sodom and Gomorrah. There's a lot of historical, myths or whatever, or realities. We found proof of those terracotta soldiers. They're also different than the Buddha. That they actually found DNA underneath a stone Buddha. He was buried in stone, right? So that's kind of proof that something, encased that Buddha with human DNA inside it. That's pretty much proof that something. How do you do that today? How do you put a rock around a human today? If we can't recreate it today, but they still discovered it,
Yeah, and that's so that was a Charles Fort, the godfather of paranormal. That's where he drew a line again. So just saying, there's going to be lines all over the place with our reality tunnels, which is part of the conversation. Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good point you brought up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's pretty. Maybe he believed that you could turn someone to stone, just not falling from the sky. Okay, fine. But then hailstone's the size of an elephant. On another planet that has much more mass, or maybe when we had more mass and more atmosphere or something, maybe they weren't that size. So everything was gigantic at one point on this planet. The trees were bigger, the animals were larger. Somehow, when we lost some oxygen, I mean, the percentage of oxygen was much greater or something like that, I believe, millions of years ago. So everything grew bigger and everything was bigger, Anyway, that's pretty much what I, was saying. Like I wanted to make a goat simulator, but my computer doesn't have enough RAM.
Damn it, Daryl. Mine does now. I'll help you with the goat simulator, okay?
I actually played this new flight simulator, but it kept on crashing. Okay, I'm done.
You're the best. You're the best, Daryl. Thank you very much for popping in here. Always a pleasure. And yeah, We'll continue to think about the lines we draw as part of our reality tunnels and these dogma cycles. You're the best. You know where to find her. Daryl, again, good friend for a long time. The cosmic comic of Troubled Minds. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Just scroll down a little bit, click on friends, and it says Daryl. It's alphabetical. Click that. Go give her a follow on her YouTube channel and say hello. Go tell her you love the jokes. Tell her you love how talented and smart she is. And of course, she's more talented and smart than you know because she sings in English and French very well. And of course, has some paranormal stuff on her YouTube channel and some stuff on Morgellons. Please go check that out. Also, join our Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. From time to time, you'll find her doing karaoke with a talented group of folks, and she'll share the Zoom link, and you can join in. And if you like to sing or just hang out and listen to people do karaoke, you're welcome to do all of the above. So, Daryl, you are the best, as you know. Appreciate the call and appreciate the jokes. Amazing stuff as always. James, okay, cut you short a couple times. If you got anything, we got about a minute and a half left, and love to hear your take on whatever else. What should we lead into? You want to tease something, or you want to wrap something up? All yours, my man.
Just want to say great calls from Shane and Daryl. Yeah, and I'm sorry I interrupted there when you two were talking, but that was just like I had to get in there to say what was going on. One of those things where just things bug me sometimes. I guess that happens to everyone, I'm sure.
That's okay.
But yeah, that's just there's so much. If you look at, I mean, it's probably hundreds, maybe even more than that, of events that Fort included in his books, in all 4 of his books total. And yet there are still things here and there, and I'm looking forward to hearing the other ones as well. That when later on, like the ones that you dug up, where he just said, no, this is just too weird. And so yeah, I do think that there's lines, and that's okay. And I think we need to get used to being okay with that, with everyone having different lines as to where they draw them, as to what is or what is not reality.
Yeah, 100%.
Overall.
Yeah, well said, all of that. And it's really what we're doing as part of these conversations. We're sort of negotiating with what those lines are personally and as a group, kind of like, is this too far? Did we go too far? Did I think too much about this? Is it way less complicated? That's the whole point. That's the whole point of this stuff. Because it's less about, finding the mysteries of the cosmos. And it's more about sort of, agreeing on with yourself in your own space, in your own mind, in your own heart, what those are, and what motivates you to be the best person you can be in the end. And that's why this is important to have these conversations, because you never know. You never really know what other people are thinking, and you never know what the limits of those reality tunnels actually are. And some people may surprise you, and that's exactly the point. I'm surprised continually by the stuff that comes out of my mouth, so at least I'm surprising myself. So there's that. but who knows? You guys tell me, how deep and how weird does it go? Charles Fort, the godfather of the paranormal, actually had some lines he drew, and he wasn't willing to go further than particular things, including, of course, a hailstone the size of an elephant. Do you believe it? He didn't. Do you? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. More on the way. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Nobody on the line if you want to jump in here. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Okay, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D-Live, and not D-Live, X and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, which you can find at troubledminds.org. The black button right on top, it says Listen Live, KUAP DB. You press that, you get an MP3 stream, and you could listen to it without any sort of weird subscriptions to, some of those weird video platforms that charge you. It's free. It's free. And of course, we're on 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand on the Underground Media Network. Tonight, what are we talking about tonight? How about this? All of the ideas. What if ghosts aren't the dead, but reflections from a broken simulation? What if UFOs are less about propulsion and more about manipulation? Could mind control be a side effect of consciousness interacting with something far older and more intelligent than us? And if all of this points to a deeper architecture of reality, are we brave enough to ask who built it? And that becomes part of the question tonight, part of the answer too, because of course, everybody's going to have a little bit of a different reality tunnel, those dogma cycles I always talk about. And I don't say that in a judgmental way. I say that in that it's good that we're able to see things differently, talk about them, and then still be friends tomorrow, because disagreements historically have ended in wars, have ended in tragedy, have ended in the most horrific things you could ever dream when it comes to humans treating each other poorly. So conceptual thought, philosophy is a very, very good way to look at this. And where do you draw those lines? And is a hailstone the size of an elephant too big? That becomes the question. Welcome back, James. I'll read some from the list here, but welcome back if you got anything to add. Thanks for being patient with everybody and just being the glue of the show as always. Go right ahead. What's on your mind? And all yours.
Oh, it's no problem. You know, I was thinking about that earlier. I guess it's really okay since we are talking about that, you know, disagreeing and still being friends. There's this one idea that I've always heard and I have a hard time with myself personally. It's this idea that we as consciousness or souls or spirits plan our time here in the physical world before we're here. The idea is sort of that everything good and bad and whatever that happens is sort of already arranged. I know there's a lot of people that have that idea, and to me, if it helps them, if it helps them get through whatever they need to get through or want to get through, that's amazing. But that's one of those things that for me is one of those lines where I have a hard time with it. I can't quite get behind that idea. But that again is just me, and I'm sure we all have just any number of things like that where one of us may, you know, think the complete opposite of what the rest of us think with any number of things. Yeah. And so yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it is okay, and that's exactly the point. Is that there's a lot of places where you just can't do that. You can't have these type of, you know, water coolest talks, as we've said in the past, and that's the point. That's exactly the point. And I agree with you too regarding sort of the, regarding destiny, that, you know, we're destined to do these things, because of course that flies in the face of free will. So what mechanism kind of makes those things happen together is an idea philosophically that it seems to be diametrically opposed. But I don't know, maybe, you know, and maybe you have to hit the particular, you know, waypoints in your life that are set in stone, but you have free will between. You see what I'm saying? I'm with you. I agree. I'm like, it makes me grind my teeth. Okay, so let's get to it. So we're talking again, how weird is too weird, and of course we're beginning with Charles Fort, the actual first ufologist, the godfather of the paranormal, and James and I were talking about him last night and thinking about what was too weird for Charles Fort. Well, I got a list here of some of the things that he described in his book. The first book he wrote was called The Book of the Damned, and it's an oldie but a goodie. And he was talking about these sort of fringe ideas outside of science, or just slightly outside the scientific paradigm of discussion. And he was even making fun of a bunch of it in terms of how, not just the absurdity of it, but the absurdity of how modern science back in the mid 1800s would actually sort of tackle these ideas to explain them away, because it was less about science and it was more about this sort of social cohesion, where it's like, oh, don't worry about that absurd thing that everybody saw. Here's what it actually was, and you guys don't have anything to worry about. Even though the scientists at the time were like, what the hell was that? And what are we going to do with it? But here we go. A couple on the list of and this is from Grok 4, by the way, which launched last night and is incredible. It's very good. It's now the state-of-the-art model in terms of actual AI. Shocker, right? Elon came out of nowhere and now he's leapfrogged everybody. But anyway, so what was two nutters for Charles Fort? And here's one example. So blue moons and green suns. Okay, and this is from a description in Fort's reasoning. This is from the Book of the Damned, Chapter 1. James might know something about this. So reports of moons appearing blue, which is common in historical records, or suns turning green. An example, 1883. Was that the Carrington event? Was that 1883? Anyway, Fort smiles incredulously at the notion, calling it preposterous, yet noting science's hypocritical acceptance when convenient. Too weird for dogmatic explanations like volcanic dust suspension over years, which he mocks as hypnotic denial. And that becomes really the whole case study of all of these things we're talking about,
recognize that we live in this world where it's probably more apt to be able to kind of debunk these things that we don't understand and just say, it's okay, relax, everything's going to be just fine. Because if you don't, it's going to set in, some mass panic, some pandemonium, this type of stuff, the MK Ultra for the masses, as we've said, and they don't want that unless they can control it. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'm sure, have you read that one, Blue Moons, Green Suns? What's your take on that, James?
Yeah, I vaguely remember it now because I think I'm in like chapter 8 now in the book, reading it on the shows, that is one example. And the other thing that pops up over and over again throughout the first part of that, really most of that book, I think, is the idea that science gave that they gave in a lot of cases where, well, it was everything that fell down from the sky was just picked up by a whirlwind somewhere else. And then carried for days, weeks, months, and then brought over to somewhere else, and then deposited there. And Fort that's one of his lines too, is where it's sort of the opposite side of the line, where he doesn't think that makes sense, given the way that some of the things that fall, there's no debris of land or ground or twigs or branches or anything else with some of the objects that fall, like frogs from ponds and things. But there's just the frogs themselves. So his idea is that if it was a whirlwind, how could it just pick up the frogs, but not everything else of any size in the bottom of a pond?
Yeah. So
I'm no scientist, but yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm no scientist, but also I kind of agree with him there. So it really is amazing, and it comes up over and over again in his work.
Exactly. Frogs, but not sticks and stones is what I was going to say. And it's right here. So another one is black rains every 7 months, which ties into what you're talking about. And this is from the Book of the Damned, Chapter 1, Charles Fort, talking about these ideas of these, and again, he was the godfather of the paranormal, talking about many of the things that we've discussed and had on our minds in the modern sense. Spontaneous human combustion, things like that, right? Red rain, frogs falling from the sky, all this stuff. Like this has all been cataloged and delved deeply by Charles Fort, again, a long time ago. But he saw both sides of the coin, that not just there was the absurdity of the things that were happening that had many, many, many witnesses, but also the fact that modern science at the time was making up some nonsense to explain it away so people didn't freak out. So it's an interesting sort of back and forth in the absurdity dance he does of, okay, well, this type of thing is probably a little too far, but more absurdly, how science tried to explain it away so that, we can, get back to work and pay your taxes. I'm adding to that. He didn't say that. But anyway, black rains every 7 months. This is one of the ones. So he stated this: statistical manipulation to prove black rains fall regularly by cherry picking data from red or yellow substances. Fort dismisses this as absurd pseudoscience, ridiculing how exclusionists twist facts to fit patterns while ignoring these anomalies. And it seems like he did this quite often, in at least from my list here, which is fascinating as hell to me, because Charles Fort was like into all of it. He did the paranormal stuff. He was doing UFOs. They call him in this article here. It's linked in the description. Charles Fort is the first ufologist. I mean, he was into everything. And so when he points some things out and calls them absurd, you got to take notice, right? The godfather of the paranormal going, I don't know, this one's a little wacky. However, more absurdly was how science tried to explain it away at the time. I read the hailstone the size of an elephant. Okay, here's another one too regarding the black rains, not just every 7 months, but black rains as manufacturing soot, okay? With, the Industrial Revolution and, the China pumping the coal into the air. I mean, we do it too, but I'm just making fun of China. Anyway, so the fact that they attributed to the black rains as this manufacturing soot as industrial pollution from distant towns, even in remote areas like Switzerland, Fort finds this deceptive and absurd, given the distances and volumes involved. You see? So you can say, okay, look, there's weird stuff happening, weird anomalies happening, the things falling from the sky that are unquantifiable. But then to say something like, well, that was the Sahara Desert flowing across the Atlantic Ocean into New Jersey. I mean, they say those things, right? Like that's real,
but how much of that you can kind of explain that stuff away in part of that larger context? So which is more absurd, right? This or the way they explain things away? So I don't know. It is a wild and weird world we live in. But the question becomes, where do you draw that line? And which is more absurd in clown world carnival, as I'm always talking, since we do live in the upside down after all. What do you believe? More of the paranormal take, more of the wild, weird take, or the official story? That becomes the question. Love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. If you want to be part of the conversation, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We're just talking about high strangeness. How weird is too weird? Because clearly there's a line we all draw. And again, I'm not trying to pick fights and say this or say that. But for me, like I said, if you delving into the write-up, I really recognize deeply simulation theory. And it makes a lot of sense to me. But then suddenly, when you start breaking down NPCs and different groups of being maybe central to the simulation, that's where I get off. I'm like, nah, come on, stop it. We're talking about a supercomputer, basically God, right? Like small g God, a supercomputer that's able to process all of this and fool all of us. And it's only rotating around, this many people. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, so like I said, I'm not trying to pick fights here, but where do you draw those lines? And how weird is too weird? And if it gets too weird for Charles Fort, surely there's a line where it gets too weird for you. James, anything on that or anything else? And I got some more from Fort we can read and keep on trucking here because the write-up is also very good.
Yeah, I just want to point out, too, that some of these things, frogs falling from the sky, fish, all these things, if you listen, because Fort has been covered, his work has been covered by a lot of shows over the years, other podcasts and things that are also into this and partly inspired by him. He's that's where the whole term or the name Fortean comes from, to describe anything anomalous. And but anyway, these things haven't just stopped happening completely. If you look up shows, or even probably just look up falls of frogs, you could probably find examples of this happening every once in a while here and there to the modern day, or at least up until the mid to late 1900s, last century, which sounds crazy to say that, but it is what it is. To where, these things are still possibly happening in places. But I wonder, too, with that is with the idea of what is or isn't accepted, that sort of that line on a societal level are there more of these things that happen that they just don't get reported?
Yeah, and we talked about this on the last show with sort of that ancestral spirit stuff too. Imagine how much of that has been lost to history. People that actually experienced those things and maybe did tell their tale, but it was sort of just buried or forgotten or, not even considered as part of that those anecdotes that we talk about. I think a lot of this stuff kind of falls into this. You'll find maybe, but they'll call it an old wives' tale that's kind of been passed down maybe from generation to generation about some wild thing, Grandpa Ernie saw or something. And it's like, yeah, Grandpa Ernie liked to tell a lot of tall tales, didn't he? Well, yeah, maybe, but also what if Grandpa Ernie saw this thing, whatever the hell it was, again, a elephant-sized piece of hail, and now people just laugh at him. I mean, that's the type of stuff that gets lost to ridicule and to history because you see it, nobody believes you unless you got a very small group of witnesses. Time passes, and then here we are sort of whitewashing history forever. And it's 2025, and you bring up Fortean stuff, and people think you're a quack and whatever, right? Like, look, I got the armor of God, so I'm cool with that. Like, call me a quack or think me a quack. I don't care. I think there's something in the fringes that's worthy of discussion, and that's the entire point of this.
Yeah, I'm at the point now where I don't automatically dismiss any kind of odd experience that someone says they had, just automatically. Even if I'm not sure about it, I'm not going to confront anyone about it, or again, ridicule them about it, because what if there is a chance that it happened the way they said it happened? Then, then I'm basically denying them and their own word and their own their experience, and I don't want to do that.
Well said. Well said. All that. Agreed. And that, as part of the Troubled Minds ethos, that's what this is about too. Kind of expecting the unexpected. And if you can do that, you put yourself in a place to be adaptable to a lot of things. And that's good. It's good in my opinion. So we're talking about Charles Fort and his historical role as this collector of rejected knowledge. That's a good term right there. But so basically this, is there a boundary where the strange becomes too unstable to even consider real? That becomes the real question tonight. And again, we talked about a few examples from Fort. We'll talk about more. But how about this? Have you ever experienced something that made you question not just what happened, but your ability to even describe it? And that's where this sort of comes home to roost, because some of you have, some of us have. And that is one of those things where it really jars your reality tunnel, because you can't really explain it. You don't know what happened. You come out changed as part of it. And then when you bring it about or bring it up, people just think you're a kook. Yeah, it ain't right. It ain't right. And that's why, again, welcome to it. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Derek was first. He put his hand up, but he's said bottom of the hour for me. So Derek is first at bottom of the hour. Jeff in Wisco, what's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? Unmute and go right ahead. Welcome to the thing.
Hello.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. I'm going to adjusting your volume because all my stuff's all jacked up because new setup. But yeah, you sound great. Go right ahead, my man.
Well, speaking of weird, I figured, I might as well call in. I'm digging all this stuff, but because there's been a lot of weird things that I have personally been absolutely seeing. That's just been mind-boggling, we'll say the least. Okay, so just kind of go, just maybe simulation type thing. I don't, whatever. But man, it's like a few very notable things that I'm just like kind of, I'm still can't wrap my mind around. But I'll just go ahead and start. So, most recent, actually, just the other day, I have we'll just say I kind of been going through some sort of, I don't know, like, I guess you may call it a spiritual awakening, whatever, something like this, right? And so I've been noticing this weird things, and my dreams have been like ramping up, like really weird. And so I met this individual, and I do some gaming and whatever. So I met this individual, needed some help on a video game, and I was like, yeah, I'll help you out, whatever. And we started talking, and dude's just like me, he's got kids, whatever, games, whatever. But we were getting to talking and stuff, and he started talking about some dreams, and I was like, man, I had a really weird dream the other night. And first off, I'll tell you the dream because it was really weird, and then why it ties into this, and I was like kind of mind blown. So the dream is something like this. It's kind of hard. It's a little bit hard to describe, but I'm underwater in like a river. Okay. And it's it felt like an indoor, because it was like rocks and boulders in the water, but they felt fake, hollow, like it was like an indoor water park type situation or something like this, right? And I'm like under the water, not struggling or not drowning or anything. I'm just flowing along with my hands like out in front of me, which was really weird because I never see my hands in my dream. And so I'm floating and going, and I'm like trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And I see the movement to my left, and I look over, and it's this, it's a gray alien coming up, and he's like sideways swimming, like doing like a side stroke or something. He just like looks over at me, and we make eye contact, and I'm like looking at him, and then boom, my hands hit one of the rocks, like a boulder, and I just hit it hard, and it didn't hurt me or nothing, but it made a loud bang noise. And then I was like out of the water, but my body was in the water, but I'm like looking down at it. And then I'm like looking around at this whole like area, and then I woke up. And I literally woke up out of that sleep, and I was like, what the heck was that? And so fast forward to like last night, I'm talking to this individual. He's talking about dreams. I'm like, man, I had this weird dream. So I start telling him this, and he's like, whoa. He's like, stop. I got to stop you right there. Like when I started telling the dream. But once I said like gray alien, he's like, I got to stop you right there. And I'm like, what? He's like, look at your screen. We were on Discord. And he's like, look at my screen. So I look and he shows a tattoo on his arm, and it's an astronaut drowning in the water with a gray alien trying to help him. And I was like, okay, that's a little bit weird. Like that, this kind of lined up like a little bit weird. Then, then like last week, something else really weird happened. That was like, man, we have to be in a simulation. Okay. So back when I'm in middle school, okay, I'm like 7th grade, 6th grade, something like this. Me and some of my friends came up with this like book of jokes, and it was just like, just stupid jokes, right? They made 0 sense at all. One of the jokes that my one friend came up with that just kind of stuck with me because it was just so dumb was, it went exactly like this. How many pancakes does it take to cover the roof of a doghouse? And, yeah, 0, because there's no bones in ice cream. All right. So
what the hell?
All right. Yeah. So just stupid jokes. I mean, we're young kids, right? Making this up. Anyways, fast forward to last week. I'm scrolling through my TikTok feed or whatever. All of a sudden, this thing comes up, and it's just a blue screen with the words on it. It says, "Here's a riddle for you," and it went more like, actually, I'll just read it. But it went something like this: like, if you're going down the river and the wheel falls off your canoe, how many, are you using the right kind of mix? How many pancakes does it take to cover a roof? Okay, that's what the joke was. It was a little bit different, but I was like, naturally, I'm going to go in there and say none because there's no bones in ice cream. That was what I was going to comment, right? So I open it up. The very first comment is just that from some random person. None. Because there's no bones in ice cream, and I just dropped my phone.
What the hell?
I was like, what the?
Stop it.
I was like, what? Yes. And I immediately screenshotted it and everything, and I texted it to my friend that I knew would remember this, right? And he was like, his first thing was like, it didn't really quite go like that. And I'm like, okay, dude, I think you're missing the point. Look at that. Look at the comment. And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, that's a little bit weird. I'm like, you think? I mean, it's, we're talking, we're talking like over 30 years ago, and just with dumb kids just writing just nonsense. So that was a little bit like, what the,
Yeah.
And then
the synchronicity engines. We're just about out of time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, the last thing was, I mentioned this on a James show the other night in the chat. I was out back having a rough day. I went out back and I laid down in the grass, looking up at the sky, and I'm watching this bird fly across the sky, and it just disappeared. It completely vanished. It didn't go left, it didn't go right, up, down, or nothing. There was wide open skies. It vanished.
Birds aren't
Gone.
real, bro. Birds aren't real. It's that synchronicity engine trying to keep up with it is impossible. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the call. Holy smackerel. If you got more later and you're still up, give us a call, okay? Appreciate the call. You're the best.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah.
Okay. Take care. That's Jeff and Wisco. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Don't go anywhere. What do you make of that? What about these synchronicity engines, and how weird does it get? More on the way. Be right back. Oops. Welcome back to Troubled Minds, yada yada, blah blah blah, all the places, all the things, all the streams. 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand, KUAP Digital Broadcasting on troubledminds.org. Live from Las Vegas, this is Troubled Minds. Tonight we're talking getting weird, but how weird is too weird? The godfather of the paranormal, Charles Fort himself, basically said and suggested through many anecdotes and ideas in his books that he wrote, the Book of the Damned being the first one there, but there's a whole series, that there are times when you hear something that's just too ridiculous to consider as reality. And funny enough, he kind of straddled that space between believing some of this, but then also disbelieving the propaganda around it, which I think is hilarious because he had a hell of a sense of humor when you read some of his anecdotes. But clearly he's not writing about this stuff in a frivolous manner, because if he was, he would have just, debunked it and been, kind of on the side of the debunkers or whatever that is. Again, picking sides, choosing sides. I hate all the choosing sides stuff. It's unnecessary, but you get what I mean. This is complicated. It's interesting to look inward and wonder where do you draw the lines and what you may or may not believe. Thank you, Jeff and Wisco, for the call. Appreciate that. That's Smoke Dizzle. You know where to find him, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit and you'll find Jeff. It says follow Jeff there. It is alphabetical. Go check out his gaming channel. And wild story, wild take on all that stuff. And how do those synchronicities happen? And to me, to be personal, to be perfectly honest on this, is the synchronicity part is the hardest part for me, because the structure in place that would have to be so ridiculous to make these things happen, the Carl Jung level synchronicity, I have a hard time with that. But again, like I said, the universe doesn't care what I think. And so let's talk about it. James, anything on that real quick? We'll go to Derek.
Yeah, just it's funny that that Jeff called in tonight, because my latest episode that I just shared in my show, I posted this morning, it has me reading, because he posted that in my Discord on the chat there. And so I actually read his comments about the experience with the bird just vanishing out of nowhere. So it's funny that worked out, where he was able to call tonight, and same day that the show went out, where I read his words on it the same time. So yeah, amazing experience, and I don't know how to explain that either.
Yeah, exactly. Birds aren't real comes to mind, but that opens up a whole can of worms, doesn't it? So, love to hear your guys' thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Go to Derek in Massachusetts. He put his hand up on Discord days ago, just FYI. I'm not skipping you, MJ. We'll get to you. Derek in Massachusetts, what's up, the Night Stalker? How you doing here on Troubled Minds? I'm going to skip the music because we're on the phone line. Go right ahead, sir. Welcome to the joint.
What's going on, Bruce? Great show. Great calls, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Wild stuff.
Appreciate
it. Introspective,
Thank you. Where do we draw the line? Go ahead and take it where you like.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I was trying to think. I mean, I like to kind of say I'm proud of of being weird, and I try to go with the weirder the better. I always say, especially when we're trying to think of topics, or when discussing different aspects of the weirdness and stuff. Like the weirder the better, the weirder the better. But then when I think about it, I'm not really sure if that's necessarily the case, And when it comes down to it, I think it's probably the delivery mechanism for me more than anything, kind of the mouthpiece, what's kind of providing the theories to an extent. But I'm not sure. I mean, I can hop on board with some stuff, but then I can't go that far with it. Like the Tartaria stuff. I was around when that was kind of first starting to bubble up, and it's interesting. Oh, that's pretty cool. Like the idea of a reset or some kind of cataclysm, or it kind of uses the bones of all the Graham Hancock type stuff, we're a species with amnesia. And it's oh, it's pretty cool. And then it kind of shows you the architecture of all the kind of the Russian type of architecture and stuff. Oh yeah, that is kind of cool, and it's kind of cool. And it kind of relies on how impressive a lot of this architecture is of the cathedrals, and how kind of the infrastructure around us is kind of falling apart. And it's oh yeah, that's true. It might be hard to build something like that today, but now it goes just too far. Now this mud flood happened in the 1900s, and I'm not sure about that. My great grandmother, who I knew, was born in the 1800s. I'm not sure if she lived through a mud flood. My grandfather just passed away a couple weeks ago, and he was born in the 20s, and I knew him my whole life and stuff. And he was 20 years or 15 years removed from a mud flood. That might be too far for me, a bridge too far for me. And then now I'm seeing on Facebook if there's a building with a gargoyle on it, or any kind of fancy stonework at all. Well, this must be Tartaria. So this is old world architecture. This is old, and it's yeah, it's impressive, but we can make that. Right next to it is a huge skyscraper that is more impressive by any metric, and it just makes me want to make a fake YouTube account and showing skyscrapers and different modern buildings that we definitely made. Being oh wow, we can never make this. We can never make this now. Come on, you're trying to tell me that we can make this? Come on, and just show the Empire State Building. This has to be Tartaria stuff, you know. And it's just like I was on board in the beginning, but then you can just take it too far, and I don't know. I kind of hop off somewhere in there.
Yeah, the Night Stalker elevator, right? Like we've talked in the past. It's that's exactly the point of this, and I think everybody has sort of that mechanism within them to be like, about that far. I'm about the fourth floor of the Night Stalker elevator on Tartaria, right? And I'm actually, again, not to give away all the deets, because look, this is not about what I believe. This is about what we believe collectively. But I'm with you on that. I'm you can tell more of the things I'm more apt to believe by the things I talk about. I mean, it's obvious. And so I don't talk about Tartaria a lot. And so because there's some roadblocks for me, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe we're both wrong, and that's okay. But I'm with you sort of, and these are the roadblocks that we need to kind of look inward and recognize that we're drawing them for ourselves all the time. But yeah, I'm with you on that. At least to the point where I run out of steam going, well, and then what? I mean, it's not that long ago. Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, I'm on board with aspects of it and stuff, but just something about, especially the more recent discussion around it. It's basically flat Earth. You have to dump out literally everything you've ever learned in order for this theory to be true. And I get the impetus for that. I understand how that would happen, and how a lot of these conspiracies you got to kind of forget the things you were taught, or school was lying to you, or NASA was lying to you, or the government was lying to you and stuff, which is so the Hollow Earth, you kind of have to believe that they're lying to you about the poles, they're lying to you about Antarctica and stuff. But then the flat Earth, you got to go, they're lying to you about every single thing you've ever learned about space ever, period. And it's just all right, I can get on board to an extent. Yes, they've been lying to me a lot, but it's just then I see a lot of the flat Earth stuff kind of relies on an incomplete understanding of the current model. In order for you to dismiss the current model, in my mind, you have to have some level of understanding of it in order for you to poke holes in it. If not, then you kind of just I don't know, just throwing stuff at a dartboard and everything. And I get kind of disheartened when I see people take pictures of the moon during the day and be like, how is this possible? How can the moon be out during the day? They're lying to you. The Earth is flat. It's not what we're told. And it's just no, that works within the regular model. That makes regular sense. They could be lying about that model, but under it just makes sense. And I don't know. So it's just but then to the same token, if somebody's kind of doing a bad faith argument for flat Earth, oh, well, the people are saying the Earth is flat, so they're going to fall off the edge of it one day. Well, in my head, I get kind of annoyed by that. Well, no, that's not what they're saying either. That's not the model or whatever. Or the jokey memes about well, all the planets we see in the sky are spheres. How come ours is flat? And kind of well, I mean, in order for this and this and this, they're saying this. So there has to be some kind of continuity within each individual theory for me to kind of reckon with it at all. And then there has to be hopefully some kind of continuity amongst the other theories. If there's something that it requires me to forget everything I've ever learned, it has to be really, really, really compelling. And a lot of these things aren't like that, you know. Yeah. But also I still yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, aren't compelling enough. I can trace it, and I can follow it. I've got a conceptual mind like the Dickens, and so that type of stuff I can definitely follow. And funny enough, on the Tartaria show we did, I think we've only done one directly on it. One of the several comments I got was this guy doesn't even believe in this stuff. Why is he talking about it? It's well, do you have to believe in something entirely, hook, line, and sinker to talk about it? I mean, that doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah,
it's weird. You're right. It's weird. It's these dogma cycles.
Yeah, and it gets and there could be a nugget of truth or a nugget of coolness or a nugget of the hidden history or the kind of the new chronology movement or the idea that they injected a couple hundred years of history into our history that we're told or they took a couple hundred years out. I can get on board with that. I can wrap my head around that. That's not too out there. But when it comes to well, within, I know people who were born in I've met people in my life until I was 10 who were born in the 1800s and stuff. And there was, I don't know. And just the idea that the Earth was reset or I don't know, it just kind of, it trips me out. So I like to be able to kind of, entertain all these theories and be able to kind of stretch my mind in a way to entertain them, but be able to stretch my mind back and be able to have a flexibility within the paradigm and be able to like open myself up in order to like understand where this theory is coming from and kind of like pick it apart a little bit, but then also not have like a rubber band, be able to stretch back into place afterwards. I don't want it to stretch me out and hurt my mind. That's kind of the Art Bell thing. Like, have your mind be open enough, but not stuff where everything just falls out. And a lot of these things require you to kind of dump the information. And then with the people, with the kind of the mouthpieces of it, it's I mean, it's tough to say what it is that makes me believe it, certain people and what doesn't. But just a certain resonance. I feel like if they're just, again, it's a continuity. If I feel like what they're saying doesn't make sense with like they're saying B, but A and C next to it doesn't really make sense, then I'm going to be less inclined to, or like to believe it. Or if I feel like they're kind of just making things up to kind of hear themselves talk or to kind of feel special, or like these things that are so unbelievably rare, and I've never experienced anything like that. So then for somebody to be like, whatever topic we're talking about, be like, oh, I've had an experience with this, or I've had an experience with this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and it's just like, okay, Occam's razor says that probably you just like, if you have an experience that's like that 9 out of 10 people have never had and will never have, and then you've had it for every single topic we've ever talked about, but then you didn't mention it before 2 weeks ago when we were talking about something that's kind of like it, but now you're mentioning it once we're talking about this thing, and then I tend to think that you're just making it up, or you're just, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. That's tough for me. And then with the Corey Good, David Wilcock type stuff, so I talk about the Titans and like the Titans being in Tartarus and these like giants or whatever that are inside the earth and all these different type of metaphors, whether it's a pocket reality or outside of reality or like who knows what. And this just a hop, skip, and a jump from that is like Corey Good talking about like essentially giants frozen in like hyperbaric chambers in the center of the planet and everything. It's not that different, but it's just one resonates with me and one I can tie to all kind of pop culture and all kind of other theories, and there's a continuity amongst it. And then the other one just doesn't resonate with me at all. And is it the mouthpiece? I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why that is. But I was looking at like, what does paradigm mean? And it's just like the worldview underlining theories and methodology of a particular subject, like the discovery of universal gravitation became the paradigm of successful science. Just like kind of there's a new paradigm for public art in this country as an example, just a typical pattern, a typical example. So the continuity there has to be continuity within the existing canon. And obviously with weird stuff, there can be outliers, and the outliers are cool. That's like the fringy stuff. That's the paranormal. That's the supernatural. These are going to be outside of the normal. But then when it's just like too far removed from anything that, like, I don't know, you've acquired, for me, 35 years of information in my life, and if something is to pop up that I think is interesting and cool, but it requires me to dump out all that 35 years of information, I'm going to be less apt to believe that. But obviously, if it can make a good case for it, make a compelling case, have enough evidence, kind of change the canon, create its own continuity, then I can get into it. I don't know. For the etymology, the word comes from the Greek pattern, example, sample, exhibit, represent, to expose, and from para meaning beside, beyond. So to show side by side. Basically, like if one of these things are not like the other too much, that's where they kind of lose me. So that's before it's like, yes, you can have strange sun anomalies. You can have weird things possibly coming out of the sun or weird tinges of the sun, but a green sun, one of these things is not like the other. That's a bridge too far for me, and I kind of feel similar, that if somebody's kind of just spouting off, but if like then put into my mental Rolodex, if one of these things not like the other, or if put side by side with the other theories or side by side with the rest of the continuity, if it's an outlier too much, then I can't deal with it.
Yeah,
rambling,
no, you're good. No, it's same, and that's the point. So I was surprised again. So what spawned this conversation was James and I kind of kicking this around last night, testing audio, and James was like, "Yeah, there was stuff that's too much for Charles Fort." And so, hey, look, so if the Godfather of the Paranormal was like, "Hey, this is too much," and so it's okay. This is okay. Again, the introspection part of this is really what this is all about, and recognizing that there are plot holes in a lot of things. And we should be very, very cognizant of it. I hate to cut you short. Final thought. I got MJ on the line behind you, and I've literally just burned him so many times recently, like 3 or 4 times. I made him wait forever. So you're the best, brother. Appreciate you dipping in here. Final thought, and then we'll get to MJ after you.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing probably for me is is which kind of makes me uncomfortable a little bit, is the mouthpiece that's delivering these things. If it's somebody that I respect, then they'll have more influence. Like somebody like a Duncan Trussell would say something, or so say like a weird theory, then I'm going to give it more credence than somebody who I already think kind of just spouts off or whatever. And I've seen it in my own life, where it's like I can say something jokingly in a large chat or whatever, like about these topics, because I'm the one saying it, then it'll kind of stick out more, and it'll be used in conversation or be used as an example. I'm like, no, I was just joking. But it kind of like, I don't know, it just has just different resonance. And I think that's kind of scary, and especially now we're living in this influencer culture, that you can get these influencers, these ancient aliens people, or these different people that are good at creating like a false continuity to kind of trick people, to kind of snap your rubber band, which kind of scares me. But that's all I got. Start with that. Thank you, bro.
Do the best. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for popping in. Thanks for calling on the phone line. Always a pleasure. Have a great night. You know, we love him. That's Derek the Night Stalker. Please give him a follow at troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It's under N Night Stalker. Go follow his YouTube channel. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. MJ in Virginia. I've made you wait so much recently. I'm sorry about that. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
Doing really good. You were talking about simulation, and I got to thinking. People want to live in a simulation that we consider to be a simulation. We're in this planet. We're in a box. And we do as we're told, and, the corporation comes along, you have a job, this is what your job is, and this is a criteria which the job needs to be done. And all of a sudden, you're having odd dreams about a relative coming in and having a conversation with this person, a full conversation. You notice something missing in the house, or there's like a knock on the wall and it's like nobody's there. All these things, paranormal things going on. And then you have a funny smell in your house. Oh, and then suddenly you start realizing you've been abducted by aliens. This is a true fact. This is going on in your life. Now, with all this going on, my theory would be, and it's more than a theory, but we live in let's say we all live in this one box. The entire planet is in a box. And when the UFOs and the paranormal happens, it's coming from outside the box, because they're no longer attached physically to this world. They can go anywhere they want. Okay? They have that ability and the knowledge. Once you die, you've got this whole other thing going on, and it's just a different thing. So all this is going on. So all these realities of the abduction, UFOs, alien stuff showing up here, they're flying in and out of your simulation. And my way of thinking is that they're not in this simulation, but they're coming into yours. Okay? So what happens when you finally own and you finally realize all this is very real? It's 100% going on. It's very real. Yes, you have been abducted. Yes, you have seen ghosts in your house. Yes, you did a clear out of body. When you're out of body, you're still here. You see the same stuff you would see if you were awake walking around in your house or your yard. It's the same thing, but now you left your consciousness left your body. Did it leave the simulation, or is it getting ready to? Now, once you own all of this, saying, yes, this is very real, are you any longer living in a simulation, or have you are you outside the box, or have you broken the walls of the box to where you can live out there and in here simultaneously? And what I'm finding with me is there's a richness that comes through that you have both. You're outside it and you're in it, or what you're going to is at another simulation, but it's a much broader simulation, much more education, understanding, more what things are about. So you're going through all this and you own it, and suddenly life here becomes easier because there's no struggle. I'm retired, so I'm not working, but there's no struggle, and you begin to realize that the people around you don't have those experiences. They don't have it. So you can't express it to them because it's a much broader, intuitive feeling. I'm going to say it's somewhat spiritual, but it's mechanics really. But it's much broader, and you're satisfied. There's a satisfaction to it, that all that you've witnessed, all that's happened to you, there's a certain satisfaction. It's not like you're greater than anybody else, but you're realizing there's a lot more to the consciousness and your soul and even your life here than there's ever been before. And suddenly you look at the other people And you're kind of wishing that, can they have the same thing? And then you start realizing that they got to do it on their own pace. They can't, eventually will do it, but they got to do it on their own pace, type of thing. So, you talk about simulation. So I don't know if there's a simulation as such. I think maybe this is an incubation to where our souls grow, and then we go out into the universe. And if we choose to come back here, we can, or we want to stay out there, because you reach a certain consciousness that is clarity consciousness. And everything around you, you feel it. You basically kind of know it. If you don't know it, you've got something to learn, you see. But there's an openness to the consciousness that just allows, I think, anything and everything to come in, and that also includes people that you're around. You realize where they're at, and there's a certain amount of acceptance because they are where they are. You have graduated, sort of, in a sense, graduated. And you can look back, and it's the ego's gone. Your ego is gone. There's no ego. It's just a basic happiness or feeling comfortable and settled in a way. And you still live your life here. Okay? It's kind of like a small ascension, yet you get to stay in your body.
Okay, which is, again, that's the shadow work of Carl Jung. I mean, this has been talked about quite a lot in different ways too, which is interesting. And I follow you 100% that this is something that, like I said very early on with Troubled Minds, that is one of the things that kind of came out of one of the initial conversations was, do we stop evolving the moment we're born? And I don't think so. I think there is sort of this spiritual change, in essence, whatever it is, a change form of ourselves, as we recognize what we need and what we want, and some of the things that we never wanted, but have to sort of adopt them into our space 100%. I follow you, man. About 3 minutes left. What else you got? Go ahead.
Nothing in particular. I kept thinking about it, and you're talking, and it's like, I'm sitting there, I see a box in my head, and then suddenly the box disappears when you start reaching out for more of this. It just becomes greater. I'm assuming eventually there'll be a full ascension, because your bodies aren't going to last forever. There'll be a full ascension, but when you ascend like that, you've accumulated this knowledge to take with you. That does not disappear. You take it with you. That's not forgotten. And once you have that amount of knowledge, to come back, you would have the knowledge as to why you're here specifically to do a job for somebody else. Maybe you come in as a teacher or something, a healer, but you came in to educate other souls so they can reach that same point. That openness, because it's difficult to be in body and to teach that and get people to that point, because they're going to not own it, back and forth. Oh yeah, I had this dream, or I just started doing readings and I almost got 100% hit on this. Oh, it's going so good, and it was really good. It was factual with what's going on, but it's fragments. And right now, I'm not feeling fragments. I'm feeling wholeness. It's just a different feeling altogether.
Okay. And so, but still there's something here that's worthy of chasing. And I think that's the whole point of this conversation. Not just for me, I think for many of us. I can't define what our words mean to other people, but it feels to me as if there's a chase here that's worthwhile. However, again, how far is too far really becomes the question. And I think it's an important concept. Do you have a definition there? About 45 seconds, if you can keep it tight. How far is too far?
I think where you go too far because you have to learn the boundaries of what you did. And literally going through some of that right now. And you have to push past the lines to know that that was inappropriate. That kind of didn't work. And you start learning your lines. So the evolution of it, we need to be pushing boundaries. We need to be asking questions. And you massively need to make the mistakes, because that's what's going to teach you what's going on. At the same time, when you make that mistake, you have to internalize what the mistake was with you, with adjustments like, and you don't get all crazy in your head and depressed and, oh my God, why did I say that? Oh, you just back up and say, why did I say that? And you search yourself. You see, and that's how a lot of that goes. The questions and answers are inside yourself.
Amen.
But the situations stimulate to get the answers out of you.
Well said. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for popping in here. Always a pleasure. Thanks for being patient. Welcome back. Have a great night.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. MJ in Virginia. You know him, you love him. Good friend for a long time. A lot of ways to look at the world. We're going to keep doing it. High Strangeness. How weird is too weird? More Troubled Minds on the way. Don't go anywhere. Love to hear your thoughts. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, what if ghosts aren't the dead, but reflections from a broken simulation? What if UFOs are less about propulsion and more about manipulation? Could mind control be a side effect of consciousness interacting with something far older and more intelligent than us? And if all of this points to a deeper architecture of reality, are we brave enough to ask who built it? And also, are we brave enough to consider when these thoughts have gone too far? And that's exactly the point tonight. I'm calling it High Strangeness. How weird is too weird? Look, you know us, we'd like to get weird. It's important to consider that concept, that old Art Bell concept. I know he got it from somebody else. But keep an open mind, but not so open that your brain falls out. Okay? It's important, incredibly important, because we have these reality tunnels that keep us safe. They keep us cozy. They keep us productive. They keep us in all the places we should be as they change and form and morph. However, is it possible to manipulate these things by listening to too much nonsense, including, I'm even including myself? And this is the deal, that a lot of people wouldn't do that. They would draw the line at themselves and say, oh, look, I'm fine because, I say all the disclaimers. I'm fine because I say this or I do that. No, I may not be. I don't know. And that's the point. But definitely there's an outlet here for intellectual thought and discussion and philosophy. But how deep does that go? And I think that's probably a philosophical question that goes back to Plato and the ancients. Because you can't, what the allegory of the cave, right? Like, how weird is that? That's layers of dimensional experience within the human reality tunnel. That's deep. So I don't know. I think we need it, but I think it's important to recognize when we should back away from it too. James, anything on that? And we'll go to Eric. Welcome back to the joint. Thanks for being patient.
Oh, no problem. So two things, and they're connected. I had to great calls from Derek and MJ. When Derek mentioned how sometimes when he hears people talk about something that happened, but then they don't mention it, that it happened like before. Basically, when they don't mention everything as it happens, he kind of he doesn't quite know if he believes him or not. And I love Derek, so this is not against him at all in any way, but it made me laugh a little bit because one thing I would say to that is if you are someone that has multiple experiences that you can't explain, to the point where it's once a week or more sometimes people just forget. And so they may not mention something until another thought sort of triggers that memory of it later on. So again, not that I'm arguing or anything like that. Just made me laugh to think about that because I've had that happen with myself. When I'm just doing shows or whatever, talking with friends, and but also I guess that's basically it, because I have this. We talked before about how I don't know. It's funny because I don't know if there really is. I have a hard time with the idea of lines, even though I have them, because of experiences I've had, experiences that I know other people have had, to where I feel like we need to, as much as possible, just accept that we've had experiences, if we feel we've had them, and that should, it shouldn't be sort of, we shouldn't downplay that just because society says to downplay that. So I guess that's my one thing where I slightly disagree with you, but that's okay.
How dare you? Where's my Greta soundboard? How dare you? Yeah, of course, that's fine. That's why we talk to each other. We can disagree, we can agree, and we'll be friends tomorrow. And recognize, like I said, if more of society adopted that throughout the years, we wouldn't be killing each other. Let's not kill each other. Less of that, more thoughtful conversation and considering things we may have never considered. Love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Let's go to Eric in Ohio. What's up, my man? The DM. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? And go right ahead.
Living the Ohio dream, I suppose.
Nice. No, living the Vegas. I'm not even living the Vegas dream, so I can't even like match you on that angle because Vegas is a big place to dream. But anyway, I digress. Welcome to the joint. What's on your mind with any of this? As you know, take it anywhere you like.
I just had some thoughts because I wasn't really sure exactly what we were talking about. Maybe limits or something of that nature, or beliefs. And I suppose me personally, I tend to express myself in the vernacular of science because it's something I'm familiar with, and it gives me a lot of tools and nomenclature to describe the stuff that I'm trying to describe and such. So, but it doesn't confine my ability to think in other directions that don't comply with science or materialism, and it certainly doesn't tame my curiosity in any way. And at some points, that kind of stuff gets very metaphysical anyway. I mean, like when we're talking about stuff like D-brain theory, the offshoot of string theory, which kind of got me thinking about, where's the limits of silliness in some things? Because even Joseph Campbell was famous as he is quoted as saying that every religion at some point becomes silly. And I started thinking at first about the novel Flatland, which was this novel wrote by this dude whose name was Edwin Abbott in like 1884. And it was a novel about living in two dimensions, like the whole world was just in two dimensions, and there was like a Victorian hierarchy that was represented by the higher you were in the Victorian hierarchy, the more sides you had. So, you had the Pythagorean solids where they had all the way up to a dodecahedron and all of this down to like spheres and stuff. And the book was written by a square, the way it was penned and stuff, but it was actually this guy who was like a school teacher, and he was doing it to poke fun at Victorian society, but it actually started people thinking in the late 1800s, like this was 1884, about dimensions, which eventually led in about 1921, 1919 in that area to Kaluza-Klein models, which were put up against relativity in terms of mathematics. And Kaluza-Klein theory is like considered to be the beginnings of and the underlying principle of things like string theory or higher dimensional theories and stuff. And of course, some of these concepts contain multiple universe ideas. So when you're talking about things like that and the synchronicities of this dude writing this book about Victorian society, and because he understood geometry, was casting it in that way that actually got people to thinking about it being more than even what the ancients were suspecting it was, and applying it to science that's basically still going on to this day, and the implications of which are not dissimilar to some of the metaphysical concepts and ideas that we're talking about on this radio show, or even the Gygaxian models and D&D and RPG things that I've come up with, and weird stuff for my players to experience in terms of planes and dimensions and these sorts of things. It's something that I like to explore within those kind of boundaries and stuff. But so it's hard to say that there really are, at least for me personally, any boundaries to what might be too bizarre or too weird or too far out there because there's so many vectors to be able to explain any one particular event. And obviously, if that wasn't the case, then we would all say, "Oh, of course, we agree. It's this. It was an illusion or a mirage or whatever, right?" But we all also don't understand where dreams come from or their significance wholly, but yet it's something we all have and all share. We all literally have dream worlds within ourselves, populating a world that might be at the center of a black hole, right? With the event horizon getting bigger and further away as this black hole feeds, just like we've got the Hubble boundary that is receding so far away at an exponential rate because of dark energy that we can't see some of the stars that lie beyond that Hubble barrier because the light has not had time to reach us yet, or is so redshifted that we don't have the technology to perceive it with spectrometry. But anyway, limits, I don't know. I can't find many limits in anything. I mean, mostly people say no. You'd find no limits in like woo science or religion or whatever, right? But all of these things circle around and everything gets bizarre on the ends. And we're all still in this together and have these experiences, and religion is born inside of us, if not externally. There's certainly a connection there. There's such a thing as ancestral memories, which we've talked about, that they've been able to. There's been several white pages written on ancestral memories. There's a guy named, I think, Steve Ramirez in Canada, who is famous for adding memories in mice and then being able to delete them, and is now working with people to help them delete or improve memories that are difficult for them. So you can add memory, you can delete memory. Memory is laid down physically by the chemicals in our brain, which we've talked about with the dopamine, serotonin, and Oxycontin, that kind of thing, right? And how that lays down your synapses and all of this. So, I mean, we're growing in that sense and laying down patterns of dreams in real time. So, and meaning, people find meaning in everything in this, in dreams and in the science and stuff. So I don't know. I don't really have, for me, like a boundary. There's things I know more about than other things that, there's stuff I'm learning about still. And, it's one of the reasons why I like this show, because it explores all boundaries.
Exactly right. And, glad to have you, of course, as part of it, because I'm with you too. I think philosophically, those boundaries certainly limit us, because if you don't challenge ourselves, like MJ was saying earlier as well, that what are we doing? Like, if you don't conceptually challenge your own psyche, your own human personhood, then you're stunted. Like you are literally stunted because you never considered all these potentialities, as we like to say, the quantum stuff. Just because it happened this way doesn't mean it had to. And maybe if you recognize that the next time, it changes everything. And that's very, very basic for quantum stuff. But I mean, we're talking, the entanglement to ORCO-Rs you brought up, and the microtubules and all the rest of that stuff. But clearly with us, and the way we find meaning, as you're saying, is not just important, but it is so varied. And again, the world over, some people find meaning in destruction. And so clearly, hey, just a Michael Strange tip. I'm not the arbiter of the universe or anything, but that's probably a bad way to do things. But some people find meaning in that. And so I don't know, man, it's a weird thing, because of course the boundaries are personal, but also the boundaries are varied, quantum, and who knows what the hell, man. I mean, that's what brings me back every single night to think about these things and talk about these things with you guys, because I can do this myself. Like I've always said, just sit in the corner and mumble like a crazy person. But look how amazing this is as part of it when we talk about potentialities, reality tunnels, dogma cycles, all this stuff. Keep on keeping on, I say. That's exactly the point. Glad to have you. What else you got?
Well, just thinking of a show, I don't know if it was the last one or the one before, but that I was catching some of. And I think maybe it might have, I don't know if you were talking about on the show or if James was talking about it, but the guys were talking about like dream worlds and them being like pocket dimensions, and how some of them might be a place where anybody can meet under the right circumstances, like meditation or being alive or being dead or various things. But then the other ones were specifically for other uses, but they were essentially a metaphysical bridge between the real world and the afterworld, right? And it had me thinking about how the basis of quantum physics got started when they were trying to figure out why there was so much green in the sunlight. Like when they would break it up in a spectrum, there was more green than any other color, and they were trying to figure out why it wouldn't be like a blend of all equal colors. And they came upon the realization at some point, it took them a while because it was hard to figure this out, but that there was quantum involved, that these colors were frequencies, and they only charged a certain number of photons if that frequency reached a certain level. And because they were quantumly separated, as you went up the spectrum, there were some that needed more or less, and in the end, what the sun was producing was causing green light to come through. And that's when they started realizing that some things in nature were quantum. And it had me thinking about that. Like if frequency reacts that way in terms of visible spectrums and the amount of photons it produces, why wouldn't it work that way to separate a metaphysical realm like a dream world, right? To be able to have certain frequencies within that metaphysical bridge, that if you could attune to that frequency, you could use that waiting room, right, in a dreamlike state or an out-of-body-like state. So for me, like when I think about those things that are like maybe outside of the things that I would normally think about, I still think about them in the terms that at least like that I understand. Like, okay, yeah, I can see how that would work, because that's not any more weird than saying the sun produces an inordinate amount of green photons because the energy frequencies are quantumized. Like they struggled for a long time trying to figure that out, and somebody was like, well, hey, what if it was like this? It's like, oh yeah, that explains everything. And it turns out, it sets off all of the science and stuff, right? Because you just figure out something, you're like, okay, why is it like that? I mean, like you can build years of science on something you figure out like that with never knowing why it's like that.
Yeah, and the potentialities that come with it. So if this is true, if we can prove this to be true, then what about that? Which is basically what we do. We really do that in sort of the fringe aspect of the modern scientific models, and kind of tiptoe in that space. But also there's as usual, like we've talked about in the past, that dark matter, dark energy is really a placeholder theory. It's not, we don't know what the hell that crap is. And so as part of it, like our placeholder theories, we talk about mythology and folklore and, tracing it all the way back. And then how come all these tales are exactly the same or very, very nearly? And short of naming these entities, the exact same things, it's wild to consider that these patterns and these cycles may have been more deeply embedded than we ever dreamed. And speaking of dreams, and maybe they come from that realm. Like it's sort of this sprinkling of essence, of ideas, of something that we could never sort of come about ourselves. We don't need to, because that ancestral memory may be embedded in the dream state. I don't know. Lots of ways to consider the world. And like I said, is that too far? Like I'm not willing to say that's too far. I think it's an interesting conversation for sure.
Well, the research papers I read on ancestral memory was that they were transmitted through semen, and that even though it wasn't that it was a specific memory, it would cause psychological reactions, like there's the chemical that is produced to help you not be nervous and stuff, and it's like, gosh, I want to say cortisone, but I'm not sure if that's what it is. But I know it starts with a C. But anyway, there's been like examples of the descendants of people who like lived through like the Holocaust or traumatic things of that nature, and their offspring having certain physiological predispositions toward violence and this sort of stuff. Like you'd have to read the papers and stuff, but and they did it in snails too. Like the memory transferred down to 12 generations, I think, that they were able to trace it to within snails and stuff. So it doesn't give you an actual memory physically, but it makes you predisposition toward something that would be the effect of such a memory, right? So if that's possible, if the feeling of that is possible chemically, then why not the actual memory or the architectural symbology of that memory be passed down in your dream state, right? Like, even if you want to tie the dream state specifically to frequencies of the brain, which we've talked about before in different states like meditation or sleep or creativity, like with a theta state, right? If you want to even tie it down to that, that's based on biological things like synapses and, that sort of thing. So it could be inherited even physically, that causes your dreams to be a certain way or to repeat a certain amount of information. And of course, that's one of the things that you've talked about too. Jung and Freud were really big on archetypes of dreams, and were some of the people that did some of the first modern dream interpretation definition kind of things. There had been some in the ancient times, but these guys, of course, changed things.
As well, anybody should, by the way. I think that's the thing. It's the change agents of not just human cognition, but let's say that cycle of ideas, that noosphere we always talking about, the zeitgeist. I don't know, like if we're not pressing for change in that regard, I feel like once again it becomes a regressive cycle of the same nonsense forever, which again, us looking back historically, if you've been paying any amount of attention, there's a lot of these really sick cycles that tend to repeat, and they're still repeating. It's 2025. I bitch and moan about the wars and people murdering each other the world over, and it's still happening. And that's the ones that get the press. I mean, there are places in Africa and other places where they're just butchering people, and it's fine, and nobody cares. I mean, the people getting butchered certainly care, but the people in the West, never heard of it. People in the East, like, whatevs, we don't have to trip on that because it's not our problem. And this is, again, a disgusting cycle we're stuck in. But if we don't press for change, it'll never change. And that's my whole point in bringing this up and talking about limits of ideas, because it does go back to the philosophical John Locke and the original, the originalism of,
social contract.
Exactly. The social contract and all the rest of that. But yeah. Got a couple minutes left. If you got anything else, go right ahead.
Just that it's a human condition situation, right? As a historian, which is what I'm actually trained in, it's really the study of anthropology and sociology in the written era. Like anthropology would cover before writing, and history starts at the beginning of anything being written down in cuneiform or that sort of thing. And it's not really, history isn't really a thing in a way of saying it's not, it's doesn't repeat or not repeat. What repeats is the human condition. So that change has to be inside of you. You got to make that change inside of you and spread that, because people just keep being people. It's not that history repeats itself. It's just giving the same circumstances and geopolitical issues and resources and human nature. It's just going to be the same, because that's what needs to change. And it happens at times in small areas and stuff, and then enlightenment and stuff, but it's it's a struggle, right, to get the whole of the world to forget about boundaries and division.
Yeah, as they say, history doesn't repeat, but it certainly rhymes. And like you said, that's our inner cycle that continues to repeat or quote rhyme. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead if you got anything else.
No, I'm good, man.
I'm good. Yeah, appreciate you very much. Thanks for
Unless you got any question, I can answer a question or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, I guess, how do we change it? How far is too far? You said not nil. So how do we change it? Did you already answer it and then we change ourselves?
I mean, I would imagine it would have to be that way. I don't think there can be like a leader that can lead us into that sort of a situation en masse. I think that's The most success that's been is maybe with dictators and stuff, unfortunately, or cult leaders, perhaps. But yeah, so I think it has to be inside of you, right? Because I don't know how else. I mean, some people, like you say, they don't realize that that's even a thing or a way. Like they're out there for dominance and power and playing the game and winning and getting the most money and whatever it is that they're competing with, right? And I know I've heard that on the show before, that we're all in this together. We're not really competing against each other. Come look at this wall of people who do things and check it out. So one person gets over the wall, they should help the next person over, kind of a thing. But it's hard because capitalism doesn't really tell you to do things like that. It's more like go out there and work all the time and make a whole bunch of money and conquer the world and build a corporation.
Step on people's faces to get there. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we're not competing. We're in this together. If you get over the wall, help the gal behind you. And guess what? We can change the world, I think. I really believe that. Eric, you're the best. Music means we're out of time. Appreciate you. Thanks for staying up late. Have a great night.
Thank you.
More Troubled Minds coming up. Don't go anywhere. More from James, your calls as well. What do you guys know about this? It's complicated, right? Hey, have I ever been afraid of complicated? Nope. More Troubled Minds coming up. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Troubled Minds, all the places, all the things. You know what to do, troubledminds.org. Come say hi, join the Discord, come meet all these amazing people. By the way, have I told you about our wall of friends that Eric was talking about? Great stuff from Eric there. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. There's a wall there of all these amazing people that have contributed to this show. And if you belong on that list, you belong on that list. Reach out to me, troubledmindsradio@gmail.com. All you have to do is help us 1 iota. That's it. That's it. You spread the word, you retweet us, you call in once in a while, you participate on the Discord, whatever it is, and you have a link to share. I'd love to help you grow as well as part of this, because it is important to recognize that that capitalist space encourages us to hate each other. And I think it is part of that larger human cycle that we follow the leader a little bit. And the leader is like, hey, they stepped on a lot of faces. They're really rich. They're really powerful. I don't know. Like I said, my intuition tells me the opposite. And so here I am. Hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It wouldn't be the first time. However, the human space is the most important, and we need to talk about it together. You guys are the best. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. James, anything on that? Oh, by the way, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, follow Eric. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, no, just great calls from Eric and everyone so far. I was just thinking too. You mentioned that we can be wrong about things. It made me think of something earlier that I said about the idea of how we as consciousness plan our life here in the physical world before we get here, and how I don't like that, which is true. I don't like the idea, but I don't know that it is or is not the case. I'm not saying just because I don't like it does not mean that I'm saying it's not possible or it is not the case, because I don't know, because I'm here. I'm not there. So I think we can look at all these possibilities and consider if they could or if they are or aren't wrong, but also just keep in mind that they may be wrong. And even with everything I do, I know that there's going to be, when I find accounts of experiences, I know there's going to be some that are exaggerated, some that may be fiction, but I still think it's important to share all of them, because there are just so many people claiming to have experiences that they can't explain all the time everywhere. And so I think it's sort of my way, I guess, of helping in this world. Just sharing that and letting people know that if you've had an experience and that you've had, you are not alone.
Exactly, which is the point of this. Like I said, if you've had some wild experience that nobody would ever believe, I want to hear it. I want to hear it. And I want to hear it not just to give you a
as I call it, that pressure relief valve. In a space that you would never speak to the world aloud because they would ridicule you or whatever. But I want to hear it because that's the fringe. That is the fringe idea of human perception, human consciousness. Like what is happening that we've suppressed as part of that larger historical context? I think it's to me, it's important. And again, if you want to frame that as pseudoscience or you want to frame that as, look, I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. You frame it however you want to frame it, because we need to create these frameworks for ourselves to just survive in the human space. I mean, like, I get it. And it's funny, maybe you've listened to me for a year, or 2 years, or 5 years, or 7 years, and maybe you only agree with like 10% of the things I say. Cool. Good. That's the way it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to agree all the time, because that becomes the mob. It becomes problematic. It becomes like everything we've seen horrifically happen. When you emphatically agree with people, talking heads especially, we have problems together, don't we? People end up dying. Eric is still here. I don't know if we didn't drop you down. If you got anything to add to that, and we'll go to Jacob Harsher Boy. Or if not, then I know he may have caught him off guard. Thought maybe I dropped him down. He's still
No, I was just thinking. You used the word toady. I love that. That's such a Gygaxian word.
Well, and it's so true though. I mean, it's wild. Imagine all the toadies lining up and saying, "I'm a bigger toady than you." Well, welcome to 2025.
Imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness, is this really happening? Oh yes, this is really happening. You're the best, brother. I appreciate you very much, and thanks for hanging out. Thanks for staying up late. I know Ohio's way the hell over there. I always get them confused. By the way,
I get the next 2 days off.
Nice. Hell yeah. I always get them confused. By the way, Ohio and Iowa. It's a mic thing. What do I know?
Same cornfield.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like to stretch it out far enough. But Ohio's way over there. That's a time zone that's deep. You're the best. If you want to stick until the end, you're welcome to. Here with James, here with Eric. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. It is rare that we get Eric that doesn't have to go to work tomorrow. Let's go to Jacob Harsher Boy. What's up, brother? Welcome to the joint. Mephisto Walls 696 on Discord. But we know him as Jacob. Welcome to the joint, brother. How are you tonight? Go ahead. What's on your mind? Lots of ways to take this, and as you know, take it anywhere you like.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. You sound great, sir.
Cool. Yeah, good show tonight. Oh man, it's just this timeline we're living in. It just seems so nonsensical. Like it's like a carnival in itself. It's like somebody's just being entertained, and it's not any of us. Like, I don't know. That's what I think about it. But I've just ever since I've been a kid, I've always thought, like, what if we're just the characters in some video game and someone's just controlling us? I've always thought that. I don't know why. And then, I saw The Matrix when it came out in theaters, and that just, like, blew my mind, So, it's a little far-fetched, maybe, but is it, though? It's just like, I don't know, the way that things are, it's like a playing out, politics becomes movies that have happened in the past. We see things themes repeating in our timeline right now in 2025. Take an example like the movie Idiocracy. You're just like,
I know what you're getting at.
Oh my God, I can't. I'm just astonished. I'm like, where? I don't know. It's bizarre to me. I don't know. Trying to deal with it the best I can, I guess.
Yeah, like all of us. And it is strange though that again, we're sort of conceptually malign talking about possibilities when the rest of the political sphere and the downstream of that also is
talking in cycles and circles, and the same stuff they were talking about 20 years ago and 30 years ago and 50 years ago. I mean, I don't think politics has changed too much in my lifetime. I mean, the last 10 has been massively chaotic, but it's the same stuff. It's the same nonsense from the same chuckleheads that would tell you whatever you don't want to hear, whatever I don't even want to hear. I'm just like, bro, sis, whoever you are in Congress, shut your damn mouth, sit down. We don't have to get political, but I'm sure we're on the same page there. It's like, oh man, how do we handle this? You know how we handle this, by the way, from my opinion? We handle it together like we do, like we're doing right now.
And also, like, some of us are artists. I don't know. I speak in poetry, in writing lyrics, all you know, some of it's metaphor. I don't really know, but some of that to me is reality. I mean, you have to be there has to be some sort of narrative, but you have to express yourself because I don't know, like it's your interpretation of this experience, like of this play that's happening, you know, around you, and it's unsettling, and you know. I don't know how this even works. And another thing about simulations, like I'll be coming up with some lyrical concept. This could be some dream that's you know, that's happened to me, but who's to say this has not been some political. You know, it also it ties into some political theater that we're dealing with. You know, like. I view the world like that, and that's also kind of far from what other people view the world. So I'll speak in lyrics and metaphors. And for me, that's the language that I think makes the most sense in the world. Other people resort to like politics, you know, and I'm like, to me, some of the stuff I speak about, whether it's like condemning politics or it's just the hypocrisy of it all, that makes the most sense to me. People out there will just be reading the news and try to explain something to you in a conversation, like a heated conversation somewhere with you, from what they know seeing on the TV. You know, it's just a clashing of philosophies and ideas, and it's just so much chaotic nonsense. I don't know, man. I think it might be getting too much, you know.
Yeah, we're not even speaking the same language. Like we are, again, technically speaking the same language, but we're speaking their language. And I agree with you. And Brian Johnson, the weird guy who's trying to live forever, that guy, Bryan Johnson, look him up, it'll creep you out. He's got a blood boy, which is his son. I'm sure you're already creeped out just by saying that. But he said, and I think this is incredibly important, and part of what we do is that storytelling is the most powerful technology. And I think so. And that ties into exactly what you said when, look, I think in metaphor, I think in rhyme, I think in the ways of the ancients. And that is where we came from. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. And I think we're on the same page and actually speaking the same language.
I mean, who's to say that's why people, you know, maybe that's why they had jesters back in the day, because they spoke something refreshing in the hall of the great feast, you know.
Yeah, there's a saying that goes that something to the effect of that the jester was the only one who could insult the king and not be off with their head, right?
And the king was like, maybe he felt at ease or something, you know.
Well, somebody
he wasn't really having to please anybody.
Yeah, like it made him feel human for a moment. But I'm pretty sure, and I haven't looked this up, and I don't know for sure, but I'll say I'm pretty sure that there's been some jesters and it's told a little too much truth and probably had off with their head also. So as usual, be careful what you say and who you say it to, especially if they have the power to take off your head. But yeah, I mean, all this is very important. And hey, look, I'll be the jester. If that's what it takes, I'll be the jester. And here I am. Let's talk about it. What else you got, my man?
Just that's it. I don't know. It's just maybe I guess I'm a very proud student of film and literature and poetry. Like, I'm not trying to get political with it, but like, come on. You're going to throw a UFC match in this famous historical place of politics. Doesn't that sound something straight out of the movie Idiocracy? Like, I can't even... What kind of weird video game, animated movie, fictionized, timeline are we living in? It just seems so absurd to me. I'm like... It just seemed like something that would have taken place in the 80s, like in a movie in the 80s or in the 90s or in the 2000s. Easily could have been something that takes place like that. So to me, it just seems like it's, I don't know, it's so bizarre to me. And so to me, I think it makes a lot more sense that simulation theory probably is a thing. Not to mention all the weird deja vu I've had. I don't know, man. I look at the world. I know my eyes are decoding all these numbers somewhere. Not like I can make sense of any of that, but I'm walking down the street and, I'm hearing things, I'm seeing things. My eyes are decoding things, it's sending mathematical codes to my brain. My brain is decoding it in some way that I can make sense of. That seems to make sense to me. But that's how I grasp it. So, but other than that, I don't know if I'm meant to really understand it more than that. It just is what it is. So, yeah, I think about it a lot. So, yeah, that's me.
So do I, and so do we, I think, collectively. And to be honest, I don't think we're supposed to understand some of those things. And it's okay. And I've said this a lot, and I'll continue to say this, that when you try and figure out the biggest mysteries of everything, be prepared to run into walls. That's the point. I don't think we'll ever get there. It's a big universe. It's a big multiverse, if you want to think in those terms. And then beyond that, imagine scaling that. I mean, goodness gracious. So there's only so much the human mind can take. But, however, thinking about it in the terms, the human terms, is the most important part. As who said this earlier? Was it Eric that said this maybe? That we need to get value out of these things, whatever it is, whatever the conceptual framework of the philosophical construct we have in our mind in the moment. If we don't get some kind of value out of it, what are we doing? And there's tons of value there because there's so many conversations that need to happen that are not happening. Enter Troubled Minds and welcome to the joint. What else you got?
No, maybe just the wrong people are getting the values of it. They're tricking the system. And like it. I'll bring up a good example because I'm a huge fan of The Matrix. I mean, mostly the first movie. What's his name? Joe Man something. He's the guy. He's like trying to help the team, but the agents come and convince him to. They give him like a steak dinner, and he rats out the team. It's like. Yep. Yeah, such a huge metaphor for where we're at in society to me, because you can just be tempted, for whatever, you want to go along and be beneficial and support like goodness out there, but someone's going to tempt you with a taste of some amazing food, like some steak. You can't get that when you're unplugged or something. You plug in, you're gonna get this taste of steak, and all is good in the world. It's just temptation out there. It's so evil and so cruel. So I look at that and it's just, oh man, it bugs me and it pisses me off. So and it should. I think that's the thing out there. So
and it should. And the way we counteract that, what we've been talking about tonight, is don't do that to other people. Don't continue those cycles that we hate. If we loathe it, let it go. And this one's for you. This is from this is one of my favorites, and this is exactly what you're talking about. It's exactly what we need to hear. George Orwell, of course, the great, said, "It's not so much staying alive, it's staying human that's important. What counts is that we don't betray each other." Still stands today.
Be genuine, have some integrity. Yeah, that goes a long way.
Amen. Amen. You're the best. What else you got for us?
That's about it, man. About it, my friend.
Appreciate the call. You are the best, as you know. You're into awesome music. Go check out Jacob Harsherboy. He's got a new account now, but we still love him. I love the Mephisto name of the new account. But troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. It's alphabetical. Jacob. There you go. Super simple as that. Go check it out. He's a talented musician, an artist, and of course, I have to mention it because it's not. Just depends on what you dig music wise. But he plays a 7-string guitar. You're the best, brother. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for staying up late with us and caring about the ideas and sharing your experience. That's what this is all about.
Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
You as well. You as well. There you go. Jacob Harsherboy. Yeah, lots of ideas here. Once again, I cannot stress enough that the human experience of that reality tunnel that I'm always talking about it's basically paramount. And if you can't recognize when yours morphs and changes, you're doing yourself a disservice, in my opinion. I'm just one guy. Again, don't take anything I say to the bank. You'll probably end up bankrupt. However, there's some wisdom. There's some wisdom in talking to each other. There's some wisdom in considering the things we don't know yet and considering the things we may never know. That's what Troubled Minds has always been about. Eric, anything on that? And then we'll go to James and we'll wrap this up.
Just thinking of jesters getting killed by the government. Alas, poor York. I knew him. Horatio, fellow of infinite jest.
Right? Which means that, again, it's a fictional tale, but I'm pretty sure that's probably based on some things that went down. And you have to be careful. As they say, speak truth to power until it ends up off with your head. Don't do that. Don't do that, please. Don't do that.
We may be back there sooner than we think.
Oh God, I hope not. Let's not. Please, let's not do that. Let's not do
you
that.
just made me think that I shouldn't even say that.
Yeah.
Feeding energy in the wrong direction.
Let's not manifest that together. Let's not do that. It's happened too many times. It's happened way too many times historically, and it terrifies the hell out of me because again, it's so easy to slip back into these old cycles of, Mike, you're very inconvenient. Whoa, where'd you go? Whatever happened to Mike? Like this has been a thing forever, and I don't like it. I don't like it. Look, for all the metaphor and all the rhyme and the rhyme of the ancient mariner and all the things we do here, there's a lot of truth that comes out of these conversations because we're real people talking about real ideas. And so, as they say, right, you speak too much truth sometimes, and there's a problem with that. As much as I defer, God, I defer so much, and still. Here we are anyway. 2025, hoping it doesn't turn into that. Oh God, please let's not do that.
Dude, I've had a seminar on comparative revolutions and a seminar on dictators at different times, like not back to back, but when I was getting my master's, and that's some crazy stuff, dude. Like there's certainly cycles within that whole balance that should be paid attention to, I would think.
Yeah.
Along with the solar maximum.
Oh God. Let's not. It's July, guys. It's about the middle of July. Everybody keep your head on a swivel because who knows what's about to happen. And then we just do a show on that. It's important. It's important to recognize all the things that are as yet unquantified as part of these news cycles and all the rest. It's I don't know. I wonder. Do you think on a quick take, you think that they do use that against us? Do you think this is like kind of cooked up to be that? Maybe I asked you this question before, like a revolution cycle.
I think that there is, if nothing else, momentum added to the cycle by those kind of things that Alexander Shinsky was talking about and studying. I think it's certainly worth looking into the work that he did. I mean, it was such a small amount of work that's probably the main issue with is that there should be more work done along those lines. But who's going to fund it is the issue.
As usual. Inconvenient information, it doesn't get funded too well, does it?
Well, and he got jailed, so
yeah, and
it's just not a great choice.
Yeah, and then exiled, right? I think he went into exile after that as well. Yeah.
Like John of Patmos.
Yeah. Hey, to the tower with you. Shut your damn mouth. We don't want to hear that crap. Yeah. Be careful. Truth to power is good, but also if you speak it a little too loudly, the consequences are real. You're the best, brother.
Yeah.
Have a fantastic couple of days off. Appreciate you staying up late with us, and have a great night.
No, thank you.
Thank you. You are the best. You know him, you love him. Eric in Ohio, not Iowa, not to be confused with Iowa, Ohio. Give him a follow, troubledminds.org/friends. Click on Eric. Go check out his music, talented musician. James, lots of things in the air right now. How you feeling?
Well, just great calls from Jacob and Eric. You know, I was thinking here, there is one line that I do have that I refuse to cross. And we talked about this a little bit last night in the chat. That idea that we're all just doomed. That everything that governments and corporations and all that are doing to us and or to the planet, that it's all going to work and we're all just doomed. Because imagine if those people all these people out here that are told that over and over again to the point where they repeat it. Imagine if instead everyone focused on each other, helping each other over that wall or through whatever situation there is, and stop focusing on all the corporations and governments telling us how we're all doomed or how we should all think in any way.
Which is where the counterculture of what we do comes in. Is if you can't have ideas outside of that paradigm, then we're truly cooked. I know you hate the term. I hate the term too. I use it. It's an inflammatory term. You know me in my language. Sometimes I'll drop a bomb here or there, just to make people think that, hey, look, I'm not as benevolent as I look. Meaning that I recognize there's a lot of evil swirling out there that I recognize, and so I think you have to harden yourself as part of it to exist in this realm. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a mean guy, but I can recognize that a particular future would make me El Diablo. And that's not good. Absolutely not good.
Yeah, and sometimes when you think someone is putting their head in the sand by not paying attention to everything out there on the news, maybe it's because they are actually doing what we need to do, which is help everyone around them. Pay attention to what's going on right around them and not what's on any screen.
That's what it's all about. Absolutely. Absolutely. Pay attention. And don't, please, just a PSA. Please, would you put your phone down while you're driving? You guys are ridiculous. I was sitting at a stoplight today. Las Vegas Boulevard, right there on the strip. Flamingo, Las Vegas Boulevard. I was the second car back in the middle lane, and the light turned green. Three cars in the front position. It sat there green for 30 seconds. And I was like, I'm just going to sit here until it turns red again. Like, if I don't honk, is nobody around me going to notice this? Like, what is going on? Like, 30 seconds. And finally, I couldn't do it. I'm like, one little beep. And everybody's like, oh, and everybody started to go. It's like, what is going on in the world? Yeah, not even kidding. Wonderful. I wish I was recording that. It's like one of those things that's like that unbelievable that even people behind me weren't honking. Like, everybody was on their phone. Everybody was on their phone except me. I was just like, well, that's green. Nobody's going. Nobody's going. Stay off your phones when you're driving, people, please. Oh my goodness gracious. There will be time later, assuming you don't die because you were watching your phone. Don't do that. Please drive safely. Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. Like 30 seconds. I almost think I could have sat there to another red light and everybody would just finish their YouTube video and, don't do it, people. Don't do it. James, you're the best.
Yeah. No, but thank you again for having me on and for everything and for having me on the network and great calls from everyone and looking forward to another show another time.
To many more. You're the best. You know where to find him. James Salcedo. SalcedoParanormal.com. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Scroll down. It's alphabetical. Follow James. Go check out his books that he's written. Multiple books. He's got a new one based on his podcast. Please go check that out. If you want to help us, help him. Help our friends together. That's the whole point of this. And go buy his books. Go follow his podcast. Go listen to. Go hang out with him on the Discord. All the links are there. SalcedoParanormal.com. You're the best, James, as you already know. I don't even have to tell you. I've said it 1,000 times, but I'll say it 1,000 more. I don't get tired of saying it.
Always glad to help when I can.
Thank you very much. So, new computer, new setup. Things are still a little broken. I'm not super perfectly set up yet, but notice there's an interesting thing happening that when I used to have all these tabs open and I would click a thing, right? Like click a tab and you click the tab, right? And like it loads up instantly, but sometimes it would like chug and go white and like sit there for 5 seconds, like we were sitting at a stoplight, and then it would load. So yeah, things are definitely better, and things will continue to get better. Thank you to the people that have helped put money toward the purchase of this computer. Like I said, it's definitely necessary if we're going to continue doing what we do, and that's the point. Like I said, I don't like fundraising. I don't like begging for money. I'm a big boy. I make my own money. But this is not just me, this is us. And that's the point of this. If you want to help, you know what to do. Check it out at troubledfans.com. You will not find Michael Strange in a hot tub, but you will find the hottest Troubled Minds merch around. You'll find the AI music if you like the greatest hits. It's there. The Rogue Topas, shout out Matt Sal for coining that term. And yeah, that's it. It's as simple as that. I appreciate it very much. Like I'm fully aware that I'm a big boy and I pay my own bills, and that's it. And so I'm not scared. However, every little bit helps, and I appreciate you guys that have helped to this point. If you enjoy these shows and the amount of time and energy and money, obviously, that goes into creating a quality product, which I promise you this is, if you're still here, I don't have to sell you anymore, but you get the idea. So if you have some scratch to spare, again, don't forgo groceries or don't forgo bills or anything like that, but if you have some scratch to spare, I appreciate it. If you want to help us more than that, go back to where we started. Help our friends. We're in this together. Spread the word. Let people know what conversation's happening, where we will not tell you who to vote for. This is not about politics or any of their narratives. This is about the human narrative. This is about considering who we are, where we came from, and where we're heading, and what all that means in 2025. Simple, right? Also not. Also not. Yeah, that's it. Actually, I got a quote here. One more quote, because this is very important as well. One moment, please. Anything to add, James, while I find this quote? It's very important.
Just, yeah, thanks to everyone who supported my show. A lot of people from this community have followed my show, so I appreciate everyone doing that as well.
Yes, indeed.
And go ahead.
I got it. Hold on. 1 sec. It's very important. It's very important. It's for Daryl. Daryl knows what's coming. She already knows. This is at the core of what this show means, is helping each other. It goes like this. I'll memorize it one day so I don't have to look it up. Margaret Mead said this. This one's for Daryl. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And also, this one's for Hiker over there on Rumble. Actually, this one's for Hiker and Puff. Happy birthday. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, a great night. Nice work tonight, guys. You guys are the best.